Do-do-do. I'm blue, dabba-dee, dabba-die, dabba-dee. I'm a guy. Good Lord, I'm a guy.
Cool.
Max biting review of my rendition of I'm blue, dabba-dee, dabba-die.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. Album coming maybe, I don't know.
Those are the critics that, like, when there's a bad movie that are out, that just put phenomenal. And it's like, they just pull one word.
Yeah, just the one word that they take out of context from an entirety of a review.
It says phenomenal ... It's got like the what do you call the ellipsis?
Yeah, ellipses.
Yeah, right behind it, but it was like phenomenally bad. Please don't watch.
Phenomenal piece of shit. Yeah. Stay away from this movie. But they take just the word phenomenal, they put it on the cover.
Yeah, New York Times said that this movie is phenomenal, with the LA Star going great.
Yeah, the New York bestsellers, whatever. I don't know. Like,
it's not the LA Star. I don't know what it is.
It's usually like Chicago Sun-Times, I think, is one of them.
Yep.
New York Times.
Yep. The Herald.
I always find it kind of funny when people use like IGN reviews.
Oh, I don't get those.
It's interesting to me because like IGN has sort of like a weird sort of connotation with people. Like they think of IGN, they think of like
video games, right?
Video games, or like their reviews were like any movie that's below a 9 is not worth shit. So
really?
Like they'll give a movie or a game like a 7 out of 10, and people are like, well, that means they don't like it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I know IGN for the video games, and then I'll see it. Usually, I'll see it for like Mario. Mm-hmm. Like IGN will rate it. And then I'll see some review on it. I'm like, oh, I guess it pertains to the field. I've seen some IGN ones for like Barbarian. IGN says, and I was like, why are they? I feel like they're stepping out of line.
Yeah, well, like I used to go on IGN so much when I was younger, like high school, early college.
Yeah,
like that used to be where I got a lot of my news for gaming and news for movies. Is that website?
For movies too.
Yeah, they've been doing movies for quite a bit. I mean, they're primarily still with video games.
Yeah, that's what.
But they overall are encompassed in just entertainment. Like they'll talk about TV shows, sometimes music. Yeah. So
nothing crazy, just artsy stuff.
Yeah, just a little artsy fartsy. Dip their hands in the pop culture.
Yeah,
kind of. Speaking of pop, I'm talking into a pop filter, and I'm going to intro.
Nice.
Beep boop pop. I think what it boils down to, what we've got today, are the audiences who are brought up on these fucking cell phones.
Jesus.
The millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless you are told it on the cell phone. It says the cell phone. This is a broad stroke, but I think we're dealing with it right now with Facebook. There is a misdirection that has happened where it's given the wrong kind of confidence to this latest generation, I think.
Interesting.
Who do you think said that?
Oh, God. Someone else that has Yorgos Lanthimos.
Close. It is Ridley Scott. Super close, right?
There was a couple letters that matched.
Yeah. They're both male.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Boom.
So this is Ridley Scott talking about why his film The Last Duel bombed. Why nobody went and saw it. It has nothing to do with, poor marketing or, how it was advertised or anything. It was just them damn kids on their cell phones.
Yeah. Yes. That movie probably holds a heart in like the late 70s for people to check out.
The way it was marketed, I don't think helped at all. Like the quote from David Lynch, you can kind of see what he means when he says what he says about watching a movie on your fucking phone.
Oh, yeah.
In that it does, in, a lot of people's opinion, take away from the cinematic experience of watching a movie. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's a little bit harder for me to get behind what Ridley Scott says because he's just kind of misplacing the blame of the lack of success of this movie on kids on their phone. It's a very generalized statement, whereas the movie did poorly because it was poorly marketed.
Well, I think from what I was kind of gathering, and it's what everyone keeps saying, is that our attention spans are gone, and the ability for us to be able to sit down and want to process versus actually having to process has gone away. So what you have is if you have to take in a subject matter, and you see it a lot now, like a lot of these movies that are coming out, the action, even some of the drama ones have to be fast paced because as you watch it, the ability for you to think and want to have those thoughts about what you're seeing are starting to disappear. That's why I think he mentions the false confidence with Facebook, is that we're seeing a lot of grab ads. And a lot of people that just you'll read a headline and on Facebook, and then you'll just take the context from the headline and use it as a subject matter without actually reading the article.
Not many people read the articles anymore. Nope. Like it's a lot of, articles specifically on websites and Facebook are designed to use as little words as possible to grab your attention. Like they tried their best to cut out as many quote unquote useless words as possible to get the point across.
You have to. If you think, when you read something nowadays, if it's 2 sentences long, you go for a sentence. If it's like, no, that's on to the next. We have there's so much stimuli around now that I think that's kind of where he's at. So I don't want to say that it bombed because of that, though. Have you seen The Last Duel?
No.
It's not bad. I enjoyed it, and it's unique, but...
Well, that's kind of like part of my point, too, is like that movie, I've heard from so many people that it's actually decent, that it's actually good. But the fact that I didn't get that from the marketing of the movie kind of speaks volumes to me.
Well, subject matter, all right? You're taking a storyline from the 1600s, I can't remember exactly what era they're in, about two people you don't even know, about a subject that's relative today that wasn't really back then, and putting the tension and the gravity of the situation into that. So it's more of a kind of contradiction to where we're at now versus where we were then, but with something that's still relative to today. Probably is not going to grab a younger generation, especially if you know that everyone's ADD.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like you have to go in. Like you come out with The Last Duel. I couldn't even tell you the fucking characters' names. They're supposed to be French. It's dealing in the economic times when there was pheasants still that had to pay the tax to the rich overlords of the counties.
Peasants or pheasants?
Peasants,
because
right?
pheasants are a bird.
No, peasants. Yeah. Sometimes they kind of come out the same way.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
Antagonist.
Yes, thank you. The proto-antagonist.
Yeah. It's Mr. Plinkett, by the way.
Yeah, what did I call him?
You called it like Blimpkin or something.
Sure. There you go.
I just wanted to make sure we got the actual name out there.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, it's actually those are great reviews. But what I'm saying is for him to come out and bash everyone, it's like, hey Ridley, why don't you get with the time that we're in and have that set up for success in your head of it's going to probably be the older audience that wants to see it. But even then, dude, it's more of a film. Like sometimes if you're going to make a film like you would back in the 1970s, really super on character development and plot, you better be ready for the outcomes nowadays. Like it's just where we're at.
Well, it's interesting to me because Ridley Scott is also quite an older director. Like he's directed not only just a ton of films, but a ton of films that have come out in like the 70s, the 80s. Like he's considered to have directed like so many classics like Alien, Blade Runner, all these different films. So you kind of get a sense of like the way his storytelling works is like, oh, if the premise of the film is at the forefront of what the trailer is, then people will want to see it just based on that alone, when that might not necessarily be the case anymore. A lot of what people want to see is spectacle and how the movie looks and whether or not it will just grab their attention. And if that doesn't do it in the marketing, then I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure a little bit.
Yeah, I have a hard time with it because I think I've seen more movies mismarketed within the last year.
It is crazy how it seems like that's the case.
I really feel like this is more of their what do you call that? The newspapers that woman sees UFO, so she had
tabloids.
Yes, it's tabloid marketing. It's completely. It's we're gonna grab everything in the film that seems. What did we watch? Like the Batman. Like I thought the Batman was gonna be like action packed.
But no, it was more of like a noir kind of thriller, almost like a David Fincher type movie.
Yeah, 100%. And in the ads, if you go back and watch the trailer for the Batman, you're gonna be like, "Oh shoot! Like this feels like a Nolan project." Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. And that's where I think you're. It's almost like you're tricking the audience into coming to see the film, and you're not portraying what exactly it is you set out to give them. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at now is like I see that, and for me it's I got to do a little bit more research because I don't know if I'm necessarily going to trust, what's going on. So it's funny that he came out with that quote about the Last Duel to say something like that because I don't necessarily disagree with him, but just to attach it to why your film sucked, or I shouldn't say sucked, why no one saw it.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit much.
Jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I bet you that was the one that he was like, I feel really good about this one. Mm-hmm. And then maybe that was, hey, you're an old man now. So he's got a platform too.
Yeah. I mean, it also wasn't like too long either before or after. I can't remember, but I think House of Gucci came out that same year, and that also
literally it
wasn't
was like,
successful.
I think like the Last Duel came out, and as soon as like that thing either wrapped up in theaters or was like kind of tailing towards the end, House of Gucci came out.
Yeah.
And I guess that is not very good.
Well, I've heard that it is very caricature in how it portrays the Italian accents.
Yes.
Get me a pizza pie.
Yeah, I wish I could get that in the Mario.
Speaking of which, yes. Perfect segue.
Whoa.
The Mario trailer dropped.
Yeah.
So they first released a teaser poster, which to me is a decent poster. Like it captures
Everything
the essence
about this looks decent.
of what Mario is ultimately. Very colorful, very just joyous, whimsical. And then they released the trailer. Did you watch just the trailer that I sent you, or did you watch the whole Nintendo presentation?
Just the trailer.
Okay.
I haven't seen much else past it, but from the trailer just itself, it looks like they're trying to capture what Mario 64 was. Mm-hmm. And I love the ad for it, the logo, or the title.
Yeah,
it looks awesome. Mm-hmm. Like everything I saw just looked phenomenal.
I watched the whole presentation, and it wasn't a whole lot before it led up to the actual trailer. It was just Shigeru Miyamoto, who created Mario, talking about the process of making the movie, which I guess they started like back in like the early 2010s when Illumination was first kind of on their feet.
Oh, nice.
I guess they've always had Illumination in mind. And so he talks about that process. He introduces one of the main producers of the movie who works for Illumination. So he started talking about the process of working with the actors. And then they had videos of Chris Pratt and Jack Black talking about their excitement for watching the movie, or like making the movie, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the Chris Pratt video, because he seems like he's either very tired or almost stoned, because he talks like he's very sleepy.
Oh.
Like he's very much like, I remember as a kid, I would go to the arcade and I would be stomping on Koopas. Like it took him so long to think of the word Koopas.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to me. And then the actual trailer played. And I really like it. I think that it, like from what we've seen so far, it seems very promising. Like the animation is far above and beyond what Illumination has put out since they've started making movies, at least to me.
Yeah, I guess I'm not too familiar. I can't remember.
So they've made Despicable Me, Life of Pets, Sing.
This fits right in there with it. Mm-hmm. Bubbly characters.
Yeah, like I feel like Nintendo picked them specifically because they have a knack for just creating a colorful sort of color palette for their movies,
which this one has.
Mm-hmm. And they probably didn't want to go with Disney because, like, two super huge corporations like trying to work together might not be as fruitful. But
I could agree with that.
Yeah. So people are kind of like giving criticism to Chris Pratt because he just sounds mostly like Chris Pratt. Like he's not really differentiating his voice a whole lot.
Did we really think that something was going to happen?
I was going to say, like, why? First of all, people are acting totally surprised that that's the case. Like, like Chris Pratt has always just been Chris Pratt in like most of the movies he's in. The only major difference I can think of is Guardians of the Galaxy. And even then, he's just a mostly like kind of quippy version of himself already.
That one's what kind of got Chris Pratt into being Chris Pratt.
Exactly. So the fact that people aren't surprised is really interesting to me. And also, we've gotten 2 lines from him from the trailer, and people are already writing him off as if he's going to be like, oh, this is going to make the movie so terrible. Like, this is going to be so awful. This movie's ruined because Chris Pratt is voicing Mario. And it I don't know. It comes across to me as super like whiny. I don't know.
No, I'd agree. Well, you probably have like what I was saying was like you kind of want to have that. Hey, it's me, I'm Mario. You know, and I think if you do that, you're gonna get the House of Gucci effect.
Yeah.
And
like,
do you want 90 minutes of that?
Like a lot of the counter argument against the people who don't like it is that if we got 2 hours of Charles Martinet doing woohoo, woohoo, yippee, let's go, like that would be really annoying and grating, which I agree with. I think that would be very much a deterrence from seeing the movie. I would still see it, but
I was wondering if like we'd almost get kind of like a Joker-esque Chris Pratt for not like
I'm the Joker, baby.
Well, no, but like, you know, Heath Ledger kind of took some of the element of what the Joker was of that dialect, and then he crafted it into his own, but you still had that really creepy laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if Chris Pratt's gonna attempt to do the woohoo, you know, the
well, it's hard to tell from the 2 lines he has, but it almost seems like they're going for like a Brooklyn sort of accent that is prevalent in the TV shows that came out for Mario. Like, what's interesting to me is they're going for like the origin of, oh, Mario and Luigi fall into the Mushroom Kingdom for the first time, and they don't know who Peach is yet. They don't know who Bowser is yet. They don't know who any of these characters are that are throughout all the games. And so that's what's interesting to me. And
I think I like that. I mean, it's either that or you pick. I don't know. I really don't. I only played Mario 64. So
yeah, they probably did that to make it easier to craft a story. To have characters interacting for the first time would give way to a lot of dialogue potentials and like situations.
Not only that, but you got to think about the
otherwise.
Younger audience. You know, we all know Mario and Peach, but I mean, the only thing that's really come out that people probably know is like Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart. Like they don't know the Mario story.
Well, Mario's not really known for having a deep story at all. A lot of it is just Bowser kidnaps Peach. Mario has to go save her.
Right. But what I'm saying, like, that's the Mario game, though. Like, if you played, like, I played Mario 64, and what I'm saying is, like, I didn't know, I just know that Bowser had Peach, and Mario lives in this world. There's a Peach, and he knows he's got to save her. But I'm saying, like, if you grabbed a 14 or 15-year-old kid and was like, what do you know about Mario, bro? He'd be like, sick ass fucking car, man. Like,
I love Mario Kart.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think like you get the Mario spin-offs that's come out, or Super Smash Bros. Where Mario's in. Like, he'd just be like, hey, he kicks fucking, you know, that dude that can, you know, freeze people's ass.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, like that he's not in there.
They also probably did it so that it would be easier for them to, if they wanted to make more movies, use different characters and other, I guess, this is storylines.
Origin story. So, I mean, you know, from here, depending on the success that they have, I mean, they could come out and, I mean, once this one happens, it's Bowser escapes again. You know, I don't know. When you defeat Bowser in the game, it's like he just goes away, right? Like, you don't kill him.
He either falls in lava or he, like, falls down, like, a big old pit where, like, you, for, like, many seconds after, you just hear him crash.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, he always comes back. It's always a thing, but
right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. So like even how they like if he defeats him in this, it's not like Bowser's been defeated, and it fits in line with how the games play out. Yeah, I bet you if this has any success, do you think they come out with another Mario game?
Another Mario game?
Like if this movie has success and they go, oh man, like the demographics really hit between 10 and 14 year olds, like. Do you think they get a game in development that would like kind of not supplant but like be a filler to
kinda
like
coalesce
another
with the movie?
Yeah, like so like hey, this one comes out, we hit the right demographics, let's get going on because they have the Switches and all that.
Right.
Another Mario game, maybe they have it in production. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, and then all of a sudden 2 years later you release this. It would while you're crafting up the second Mario movie.
I feel like it would be very not weird, but kind of unusual for Nintendo to make a game because of the movie that they're making with Illumination. I feel like Nintendo's constantly already making first-party games for their systems like Mario, fucking Legend of Zelda, Metroid, like all these different properties that they already have. And I feel like those games
own this property though, right? Mario, I mean,
yeah, but like, I mean, I feel like Mario is successful enough in his own right as a game series to like make it so that they don't have to rely on tying in the movie with the games.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, because this movie's I'd be interested if you grabbed, if we all, not we all, but like if you ran into an 11-year-old and was like, what does Mario mean to you?
Just run into a kid on the sidewalk
and just find out. But like, let's say this movie comes out.
What does Mario mean to you, kid?
He likes the movie, you know. At that point, it's like, if we come out with a game, the movie's gonna, like, they would have seen the movie. This would have made him want to buy the game, and then you bring in another movie that's kind of attached with it. I don't know. I'm interested in where the product line could go.
I wouldn't be super surprised if they announced and released a game around the same time.
That's what I guess I'm kind of like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm not saying that they could just create a game out of this. I guess I'm more curious as to, like, you know, I mean, Life of Pets comes out. You sell all those action figures as part of the merchandise. This is a very unique merchandise opportunity because they own the rights to a video game.
It's probably a lot of, like, you know, them with the Pokemon games in the show. A lot of that sort of thing just kind of happening on a slightly larger scale since it's a feature film.
When was the last time we had a video game that came out? Like movie,
like a movie,
or a video game movie that came out. I mean, Mortal Kombat.
Oh, no, it was probably Sonic 2.
Right,
I would guess
Sonic 2. Though I'm saying like the first time, like Sonic 2. You know, there
was like
Sonic,
the first of a series.
First, maybe? Yeah. I think
Uncharted, probably.
Right. Okay. And Uncharted still got games coming out with it. You know, like I'm. It's very unique to have this and I'm trying to think of like a good video game movie that came out because
it's hard to because most of them are shit.
Yeah. So like that's why I'm curious as to with this one because then we haven't had a Mario game in a while. Like Uncharted's a sequel. All these are sequel, and then for most of the Mario stuff that comes out, it's like Mario Party 8. You know,
a lot of it. Yeah.
Super Smash Bros. 3.
Well, they make a lot of spin-offs, whereas like the mainline games, they're a little more sporadic. Like the last one was technically Mario Maker 2, but if you don't count that because it's mostly just a building level game, then Mario Odyssey, which came out 2017.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So they've had some stuff with the Mario stuff that's attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm kind of also the old man out on this. I don't really
being a longtime Mario fan.
Yeah.
The Chris Pratt voice doesn't bother me.
Shouldn't.
And I am excited to see it. I'm cautiously optimistic because it could be one of those cases where deceptive marketing, like they show the best parts and then the rest of the movie is just schlocky and dumb. But we'll wait and see. I
think if I just throw my 2 cents out there on the guess, I think like you said, it's going to be an origin story. I think that there's going to be a lot of whimsical humor. So
it almost seems like they're making it like a kind of just adventure Pixar movie.
Yes.
Whereas like the Minions are very much like dumb, like fart joke comedies.
Yes.
So
I think this will have it.
Very hopeful.
Well, you know, if you got Mario in there, so like you can dip your toe into people that, you know, were born in like the 80s. So the humor in it might not have to be totally geared towards 11-year-olds.
Right.
That's where I'm curious as the.
I just hope that they don't like butcher it with tons of reference humor, like a lot of not Emoji Movie, but just like Wreck-It Ralph 2, where it's like, hey, you kids remember Twitter? Or some shit like that.
Living a little bit more self-referential.
Yeah.
With it.
Joel, just like, I don't know, like self-aware in a way that is of good quality.
I think it will. I do. I mean, from the little bit I saw, the 2 jokes that I saw weren't all that great, but like, you know, the snowball fight, all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. You know, if it's that humor for 100 minutes, I will not like it. But if they can sew in some more humor for the older audiences.
A lot of the humor will probably be from Luigi, who's voiced by Charlie Day.
Yeah.
Who I wanted to see more of so much in that trailer.
I just like the last little bit, they get into Luigi's mansion, don't they?
It seems like that's the case. He's getting chased by dry bones.
Yeah.
Little spookiness.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm so optimistic.
Speaking of spookiness,
Ooh.
we watched Barbarian.
Believe it.
And this is a horror. Well, I guess I can let you take this one.
Yeah.
And
so I was about to say, you recommended Blair Witch.
I'll take Blair Witch.
Yeah. And you're going to well, you've seen this more recently than I have. So.
The Barbarian?
Yeah. The Barbarian.
Yes.
Huh?
I think I saw it on Tuesday.
Nice.
Last week.
Yeah. So this is directed by Zach Kreger, starring Georgina Campbell as Tess. Is that Naomi Campbell's daughter?
I don't know.
I think it is.
She seemed like she was familiar.
Yeah.
Let me look that up while you're describing it.
Bill Skarsgård as Keith, Justin Long as AJ, Richard Brake as Frank, and Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother, which I didn't know that was a guy. Yeah. So this thing, I don't remember how long it is. It's probably like 100 minutes long.
She is not Naomi Campbell's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I saw the Campbell part and I was like, she
Made me curious though.
Yeah. No. 142 minutes long. It is essentially, the movie opens up, I'd say a cold open, right? She's outside of the house that she's going to be staying in.
I don't know if I'd call it a cold open. It's more just like it just gets right into the action of it. You know?
Yeah, that's what I guess. I don't really. I've always kind of So I mean, they hop into it. Like
Yeah.
there's no like. She's just outside of the place, and
Which I really liked.
oh, it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's raining out, and she's not answering the phone. She's gonna stay at this Airbnb. She's having troubles getting in. Find out that there's another person there. They start talking, and she's got a job opportunity, so that's why she's staying at this house. And there's some kind of creepy things happening, and it really is set up to be creepy with the other person there, and it turns out it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And then chaos ensues from there, and it's pretty much this is like an ultimate thrill ride. So your story first. Are you go on? I mean, what would you like? So
it's one of those things where like I gotta talk about the theater experience again.
Of course.
So I came in, watched the movie. Wasn't many people in the theater at all.
Same when we went.
There was probably a family of 3, a few rows ahead of me, but then like in the far front, because I was more towards the back, kind of middle of the theater. Towards like where the recliners are was this couple that came in a little bit during when the previews were playing.
Okay.
And the guy, the way he moved around, it looked like he was on drugs.
Oh, sure.
It looked like he was tweaking out on methamphetamine. So when the movie's going on, he's like constantly looking over at like either his girlfriend or like whoever he was with. And he was just whispering, but he was whispering in a way where I could hear him every time. Like I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could just hear him from down
right
in front of the theater.
Non-audible,
like not understandable, but definitely audible.
Yes.
And like he stayed there in the theater for probably like the first half hour, 45 minutes of the movie, and then finally he and whoever he was with got up and left. I was like, thank Christ.
Yeah.
Because it was super distracting sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to pay attention to what was going on with Bill Skarsgård and Georgina Campbell, but the fucking whispering that he was doing just took me out of it sometimes, and I really had a hard time focusing. But after he left, I had no issue with
it's funny too,
immersing myself.
You got into the second half of the film. Yeah, no, I went and saw this with Justin, a good friend of the pod.
Shout out.
We were, I think there was like 4 or 6 people in there. It might have just been 4. It might have been us and then 2 others. So, we had a weird one too, because this girl came in with this kid.
Oh, interesting. How old?
I don't know. Like, I thought the kid was like 12. So like, I'm like,
hey Billy, you want to get scarred?
Yeah, I'm watching this and I was like, this doesn't seem like something that's age appropriate. There's a lot of things in there that happen that are like, and so like I was a little out of it because I would watch this and I'm like looking at the kid and I'm like, this seems traumatic. Yeah. And then the movie ended and then we were kind of walking out And I was really like trying to like, how old are these? And it looked like it might have been high school kids that were just
on the shorter side.
Yeah, like I think the girl like looked like she was 18 or 19.
Okay.
Like once we kind of got down there, I was like, oh, she just like I thought it was a mom with her kid. And then I got down there, I was like, maybe that's a babysitter. And then I saw the guy whatever it was, and I was like,
the guy kid.
I was like, I could see him being 15 or 16 with his older girlfriend, that just
or like maybe an older sister or something.
Yeah, like
hey, big sis, let's go see a movie.
Like smoke some pot, and I was like, let's go watch something scary. You know, I don't know. It was so like. Just seeing it, I was like, this doesn't seem like a place you bring a 12-year-old to.
No.
And I don't know, like, and because the trailers don't allude to anything that you're going to see, seeing. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you would have brought him there, it's like, let's just go see a scary movie thinking it's going to be like a thriller like Halloween. Yeah. Or a slasher like Halloween, and it wasn't. So.
That might have been why the couple that was in my theater left. Because
I could definitely see people like
either they left because he was tweaking out and he needed to fucking get out of there, or he left because he was uninterested in what was happening because he thought it would just be like a generic horror movie, but it wasn't.
No,
which I'm very glad it wasn't because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, there we go. So let's dive into it.
Yes,
let's go. We've gone movie theater. So let's get your thoughts first because I'll tell you mine too. I enjoyed this quite as well. I just looked at, and I'm not going to say it right now, but. There's a decent rating I gave it. It stuck with me for enough of a month now to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. The way it opens, like I said before, I really love. I like that it just goes into it. It doesn't really give you a cold open because otherwise it might take away from like the whole mystery angle. I love how it's structured in that it's slowly building upon itself to where you find out little by little of like what's actually taking place. It subverts your expectations, and I feel like that phrase is used almost gratuitously at this point, but it really does do that in that you think that Bill Skarsgård as Keith is the creepy bad guy throughout the movie, but it makes it in a way where that's not the case, and it does so, I think, in a very like genuine way. It's not like, oh, we're just going to subvert your expectations for the sake of it. Like it has sort of like a misdirection that I think works.
He was a red herring, for sure.
Yeah.
And the relationship that they actually get into too, it keeps you guessing the whole time.
Yeah, and if they didn't write his character in a way that I liked, then it definitely would have been gratuitous and pointless. Like it would have just been like a red herring for the sake of it.
Yep.
But the fact that they actually made him a likable character helps a lot. And I think that's where a lot of the writing of this movie has its strengths.
He was phenomenal. I mean, I enjoyed him, and I think as an audience member too, if you're putting yourself in her shoes, I think they did a great job with like just making a very niche documentary and him like, oh, actually it's a project helping out with, because there's two things that happen. One, totally start to trust the guy because it's such a unknown thing that she's taking on that there's no way unless you're stalking her. Because that popped in my head. I was like, oh, he's stalking her and he knew that she'd be here. I was like, this is like kind of, if they do this, but then the other thing too is it really helps out with that relationship that they're starting to build, and like very quickly you care for both of the characters and what is going on, and trying to figure out, all right, what is Keith? Because then they have the thing in the middle of the night, the door open, and then he wakes her up and he freaks out on her. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, what is going on?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is helped so much by the acting too. I think the acting's really good in this film.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of the elements just come together and make it work. And I just love how this movie actually did at certain points scare me. Like, I was fucking creeped the fuck out.
Dude, I called it a thrill ride. I've heard kind of horror stories described as being like on a roller coaster. When it's like, all right, we're going up shivering timbers, the anticipation gets you, then it's a 3-second down drop, and then it's kind of, and you know when to breathe, and when like, all right, holy shit, like this might go off the rails. This is the first one in a while that I've actually felt that. Like I had so much adrenaline pumping that at the end of it, my hands were shaking. That's like we left the theater just with. And I think what happens too that I really liked is because of the writing and what's going on with the red herring. Well, I'm going to call it a red herring, but with Keith's character, that first half, you're constantly trying to think what might be going on.
Yeah, what's his angle here?
Yep. And there's not a whole lot of jump scares, like, which really help out because there's points. I love that. Well, and there's points that they allude to a jump scare happening and they don't pull the trigger on it. Mm-hmm. And as an audience member, you're gearing up for it. And when it doesn't come, your adrenaline, there's no like release of that adrenaline or the, There was a lot of moments because I do this thing when I'm scared or when I'm anxious where I put my arms up. Yep.
And I just hold the seat behind me or just hold the back of my seat.
Yeah. Roller coaster.
And that happened a lot through this movie. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, the fact that there's buildup in the scares. There's not really any like jump scare moments. Like, and the way it was shot, I think, helped it out too in that way. Because a lot of the scenes almost like kind of felt like a horror game in a way sometimes, where it's like a lot of first person perspectives being cut to. Mm-hmm. And even the scene when, I guess spoilers for Barbarian, when you find out like what really took place in that house.
Yeah.
When it cuts to, it's like the 1950s or something where
Robert Brake, his character.
Yeah, as Frank, you see like the perspective shot of like behind him where it's like almost a really warped looking scene where like the draw distance feels so great. Like it almost feels like you're in a third person video game just following this guy, but it's really unsettling.
It was. So when we got out of this thing, I was talking to Justin, and I was like, I feel like they made two movies here. They did the first one with the scene with Georgina, with her being kind of the lead in it, and did how they like horror movies, like what they really thought would be a good horror film. Mm-hmm. And then the second one, they took every element out of every horror film known and put it in there, and you see all these different. It's like a collage.
Yeah.
Of just, you get the slasher, you get the the unbearable characters, you get the stupid decision making, you get a lot of the comedy with what we feel as audience members, about like why people do dumb things.
You get a little bit of like, oh, there's like kind of a legend behind this almost. Well, like it's this monstrous character that only comes out at night. And it has this story behind it that goes back decades. The best way I could,
like the decision making is Justin Long, and like they poke fun at it too, and they do it in a funny manner. Mm-hmm. So like, why would he go down that dark tunnel? Why?
He sees the cages with the dog bowls in them,
and he's measuring,
and he's like, "Huh, that's weird." And he keeps measuring. He
wants the square footage of the house
because he wants to sell it.
Because he's getting a divorce from what he did to his ex-wife. Like that's why it's fun. Because a lot, like, remember, like, oh, let's go behind the chainsaws and we'll hide there.
Oh, that commercial.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the horror stuff is. Everyone that sees a slasher, they go, I don't get why that guy would go there. And everyone's always like making fun of the stupid decisions. Mm-hmm. And then this one, it's actually like, you're allowed to make fun of the stupid decision, but because of what they did with Justin Long and how they portray him, you're like, oh yeah, like he's just that dumb.
Yeah.
That's why I thought,
I really like that scene when she shows up to the house and it's dark out. You don't really see anything around her except for the house that she's staying at.
Yep, only lit house.
And then she leaves during the day, and all the houses around her are just super dilapidated, fucking run down. Like, it looks like she's in this, it almost looks like a nuclear fallout took place, but the houses are still up. Like, it was really creepy and effective to me. Mm-hmm. I really like how they did that, and it helped with building on to the story and introducing new things, but also keeping it organic and in line with what was already happening.
Yep.
I really enjoyed a lot of this movie. I think if I did have a criticism, it would be the ending. I think that they really rushed how it ended to me. Like, the whole movie builds up upon itself, like I said, and it introduces all these new things, and you're interested in like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? The last like 10 to 5 minutes of the movie felt really rushed to me. Like, it almost felt like they were running out of time and had to finish it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I was of the other vein of a lot of those B movies Like that's how it would. That's how they end.
Yeah.
It felt how the ending felt to me was in line with where the second half of this movie went, and it would have been more interesting perhaps if they had finished it with the same tone as the first half of the film. Like I just call it movie A and movie B. Like it really felt like, because they're so differently when you look at the type of horror that they're presenting.
Yeah.
Totally contrasted against one another. And that's where the ending of this, I mean, dude, Justin Long, such a piece of shit.
I know. He's like, his character, they give him little character moments that kind of make you think like, all right, is he going to have like some kind of redemption?
Yeah.
And then he pulls decisions that are like so fucking selfish and shitty that you're like, all right, this guy, they're going to kill him off. Like,
so humorous.
Yeah. And I like that idea and I like that notion, but I don't know, just to me, like the way that they wrapped it up so quickly, I would have liked more. I guess that's a testament to how much I like the movie overall, is that I wish I got more out of what I did get.
I mean, it's kind of like, where do you, if they don't have them running up, that's what I'm saying, dude. All right, we just backed ourselves into a corner. You could go anywhere in Detroit. You're able to get away. Let's just go up this tower.
Yeah.
Like, that's you know what I'm saying? It's just to lead him up to do it. He does, to have it. And then it's kind of like, well, where do you go from there? I thought it would have been even funnier if they, spoilers, but kept the monster alive.
Yeah.
Like, had it actually be like turning into like a person in society. I thought that would have been more of like a humorous thing to happen as opposed to what did happen.
Put a hat on her and it'll make her okay. That's just fine.
I thought, dude, the second half of that movie, like, so as it was going on, because the first half is so freaking, you're sweating the whole time.
It's very tense. And you're trying to figure out the mystery behind it all.
And you're sitting there guessing and wondering and trying to, and they're just giving you little tidbits here and there, just kind of like having you actually walk down the trail with them. They're leaving their Skittle trail for you to pick it up and keep going. To the second half, I thought it was going to be the same way. And then I think, 3/4 to it, I was like, oh, this is actually like, this is really well done. They're doing, they're kind of parodying other horror movies, but I don't know if I'd call it parodying because they're like, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but
yeah, you are.
They're sewing it into the fabric of this film, and I was like, I really like that they're just taking all these different elements from all these other horror films and they're putting it in, and they're actually piecemealing it rather well together.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like for the most part, I love the structure of it, and I think that it does a good job of like just kind of sprinkling those like differences in, like you said. To me, I think like the biggest strength of the movie is that mystery factor and finding out things that you didn't know before. So when it reached the point of, okay, there's no more mystery and there's no more to find out, then to me it kind of felt like they had to wrap it up and finish it, and they didn't really know how to do that. They just kind of did it. And I don't know, like, you can enjoy the ending, like, that's fine, that's cool. Like, I didn't like super hate it. I just thought that it was like the weakest part of the movie to me. Like, I don't know, I would have liked a little more to chew off of and like go into, and I think I would have liked it if it was just, I don't know, took its time.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. I guess I don't know how that would have happened.
Right.
That's where I'm trying to, in my head, think about it. Because, like, where do you, you're in a big city. So, I mean, it's like if you get away, you kind of just get away. So that's where I didn't have, I don't know. I didn't have that big of a problem with it. And I thought it fit into a lot of those movies, like, oh, we finally killed it. It's gone. Yeah. And, I mean, so for me, for what they were doing, it felt appropriate.
Yeah, it did seem like they were kind of, like you said, giving tribute to a lot of like the sort of B horror slasher movies that came out back then. Like, there's a scene, like the scene where Justin Long gets his head crushed in. There was a few moments where you could see that it was clearly like a prop head. Yeah, and they do that. Like, not really spoiling this movie, but they do that in a scene in Brawl in Cell Block 99. Yes. From S. Craig Zoller.
My boy.
Like, that movie is very much a tribute to sort of like Grindhouse, kind of like pulpy action films like back in the day, and they used that as a way of like making you think of those movies.
Yeah,
like just a very obvious prosthetic head, and it definitely felt like that this movie tapped into that.
I don't know how the writing went for this. I'd really like to know if they were like, we had a movie idea set up and we wanted to go with, because I think once she gets captured, or however you see it, they flip over to Justin Long, and it really felt like a oh god, I had a movie in mind too. Like it hits just a different tone, different character, different, he's very eccentric, outgoing, piece of shit. Everything he's doing is very lively, where in the first half it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, it almost makes you think you're watching like a completely different movie.
I was curious as to what was going to happen, because I was like, I don't know if we're following. Well, I knew he was in it, and then when he wasn't in the first half, I was like, when's he coming in? And then,
I was genuinely surprised that he was in it. I had no idea.
Oh, really?
I really didn't. I think I saw the trailer for this once, and it didn't have Justin Long in it at all. And I didn't look anything up about it really going into it.
Right.
Because I wanted to be surprised by what I got. And when it cut to him, I'm like, holy shit, Justin Long's in this movie? Like, when's the last movie I saw him in? Acceptance? Like, good God. Lord.
Yeah, no, Jay Hall, when he told me about it, I was like, oh, I haven't seen anything on it, when he was like, we should check this out. And then I happened to be watching a football game or something, Barbarian, number one movie in the theater. And then they go all the response. So they do the crowd thing where they, like, it's the scariest movie since Paranormal Activity.
Oh, yeah, they cut to, like, the audience screaming.
Yeah.
It's like the night vision, like, ah.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, like, I haven't seen this kind of trailer done in a while. And so it was actually funny, though, like, when we walked in there, we were the only two, like, I think there might have been two other people in there, that we walked, there's a literally empty theater.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I don't know how scary this is going to be then. Like if they can't get anyone, it's been 4 days since this got released, and we can't get anyone into like a nighttime showing of it. Like, all right, I'm sure it's gonna be really freaky.
It almost makes it scarier when there's less people, because you almost feel like kind of isolated in a way. Like there's no one really to like attach yourself to around you.
I was thinking about that too. I think I'd almost want to see it more with people, because I get with some of that stuff, it's kind of like the wave. At least 80% of the people are going to get sucked into the wave. So
and you can like jump in, be a part of it.
Well, I mean, it's either I don't even think it's like I either get sucked into, or else I'm very conscious about what's going on, which might help take me out of what's happening. But no, sometimes, I guess it just depends. That one was, that one, I don't know if people there or not that it would impact me at all, because I was in my own head a lot of the time. As soon as like I tried to guess a couple things that weren't right, I was all fucked up mentally.
Yeah.
Like the whole time it's like, all right, this will happen, this, and then it doesn't. It's like, all right, what are we doing now?
The scene where they go, like she goes down into the basement for the first time to like look for Keith, and he's like calling to her. It's such a good tension-filled scene. Yeah. When you actually like, you suddenly see a figure come out from the darkness, and it's all fucking gangly looking, and it's like, holy fuck, there's actually something down there that's fucking scary.
I jumped when he popped out of nowhere, because it wasn't even a jump scare. It's just all of a sudden it goes from the darkness.
Well, he's all like fucking sweaty, and his face is only lit up by like the only light source that she has.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and he's crawling towards her, I thought.
Yeah.
Or like it was kind of, and I was like, oh shit. And then boom, like, that one I was kind of ready for, because it's like as soon as I saw him, I was like, all right, well, they're not getting out.
I wonder if the casting of Bill Skarsgård had anything to do with him being the It Clown.
Good. I mean,
because he, like, people might see his face and they might connotate it with that character, or just might connotate it with like horror movies in general. Because he's not a bad looking dude, but he's totally
very creepy looking.
He's got like a kind of face that you like wouldn't want to see in like a darkly lit corner of a room.
He like looks at you, like when he was smiling and talking at her, I was like, I could see this being a sociopath. Like when they like sometimes people talk about, like, you talk to Tom Cruise and like there's nothing behind his eyes.
John Cusack. I get that same feeling.
Really? Like when you like he has that where he's smiling. And I'm like, I just don't trust anything he's telling me.
Yeah. His eyes just could totally go black at any moment, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Exactly.
But it would still scare the shit out of me.
Well, the best, dude. So the best is like, I think the second time when I was like, I don't know where this is going. He goes to fill up the coffee or the tea, and he's got the wine. He's like really heavy on drink the wine, and it's kind of like everyone, because we're all her. Watching it, like, don't trust him, don't do anything, don't drink the tea, and they do a great job with, like, you're probably thinking I poisoned it, just want to, I just want to show you I'm opening this up, nothing's like, I'm totally good guy. It's still like, don't trust him, like arms folded over, like, and
you feel like he's gonna drug you.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why I really liked it. And then all of a sudden they go into like the documentary of Detroit with like some underground band or something like that.
It's like some sort of jazz thing, I think.
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I work with a company around here. We're part of the Four Lions that help out, giving back to the community. And that's when it was just
he's one of the founders.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I feel like they're tricking me, but I don't know how.
Yeah, to me, I started to kind of feel safe with him when he was talking about the wine, because he came across to me as like very awkward and kind of like almost nervous to talk to her, because like he likes her, not because he's like
that's a very
worried about being found
girl.
out.
Yeah, that you're sitting there and all of a sudden you got a chance to like, like make it, and then they completely relate. And I think my only criticism that, and I give it a pass for, was like when she's like, there's something down there, there's something in there, and he's like, just stay. We got a couple more. I completely get where he's at, and like I might have to go back to like Illinois. I'll never see this girl again. This is really cool that we're both doing like working on a subject that we both are like very passionate about. So I can see us having the same interests and like likes, But I'm like, you got his number, like. If it's real, then you're probably going to connect somewhere else. Like, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could be anywhere with someone, like, and just be like, all right, like, just saw this in the basement, like, I'm gone. And then being like, no, stay, it's cool. Like, you know what? I think you're right, actually. I am being a little irrational.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing, but they did such a good job at developing that relationship in all of 4 minutes to something that is really believable.
Yeah.
That I think we've all probably been a part of, meeting other people and like, sharing that, something that like instantly, oh man, I'm really passionate about that.
It feels organic and
genuine,
reserved enough to.
Yeah.
Because, like, they totally could have done the thing where, like, these characters connect, they make out, and then they have sex. Like, they totally could have gone that route, but they didn't. And the fact that they didn't, I really liked.
Yeah.
Because it showed maturity in this movie. I want to touch on this real quick.
Okay.
So the director of the movie is one of the guys from The Whitest Kids You Know.
No way, really?
Yeah.
So
Zach Kreger.
He also did the movie about them going to. I forget what it's called, but there's a road trip to the Playboy Mansion. It was him and this other guy. I guess so. Him and this other guy. They probably were part of the cast in The Whitest Kids You Know, and the other guy passed away from cancer.
Yeah, it was Trevor Moore.
Yeah. So they did that. They did that movie that came out, which I watched one time. There's movies that come out and you're like embarrassed that you kind of saw it, that it's just gone.
Yeah.
I was talking to my brother about this. He's like, we watched that film, and I was like, I wasn't there. He's like, yeah, actually at Grand Valley in the apartment we watched, and I was like, oh god, yeah, was that like the one? He goes, yep. And I was like, I remember that just being so freaking like not funny.
Kind of cringy.
Yeah, Trevor Moore was in it, and I think he was supposed to be the comedic relief on it, and it was like over the top. It was probably like Whitest Kids You Know type comedy.
Probably.
But instead of it being for 5 minutes where you could really have a good hearty laugh about like one situation, it's several.
Yeah, it's a 95-minute version of that.
Yeah, with him just doing completely unrealistic things. But yeah. So you were saying, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. I knew that.
It was very interesting to me. And he wrote the film, too. So
yeah,
it's like his whole project.
You know what's odd? So this is the second guy now that I've heard of being on sketch comedy that have come out with really good horror films.
Who's the first one?
Jordan Peele.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
I'm just saying, like he did, sketch comedy. It's like one of those things. Like Jordan Peele's coming out with a horror movie. Be prepared. It's like okay.
Well, it's also I think cool because a lot of comedic actors and directors have a decent hand in like dramatic stuff. I mean, like look at Todd Phillips and Joker.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he did the fucking Hangover movies, and then when he did Joker, it's like this is the same dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like naturally when you're enmeshed in that comedic world, you have a good sense of like what is dramatic and what works as far as like a good dramatic story beat.
Yeah, you're probably so in tune with everything around you that you have to know where the humor strikes.
Yeah, like comedy is all about timing, but I guess it's the same thing for drama.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing for any type of storytelling. So I feel like comedic actors and directors and writers have a good sense of like all those types of movies.
I wonder if there's like, maybe that's just maybe comedians are like the guys. Like if you had to pick someone to be, like future director of, I mean that might have to be the talent pool that you dip into.
Yeah, obviously it's not like a whole universal thing. Like obviously you could get like a comedic director that would make a shitty drama.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but like I'm curious as to how many people you could pull that do very dramatic stuff into comedy. I feel like that world, the comedic world, having actually a sense of humor opens you up to both sides of it. Whereas if you're very dramatic, you're not going to be really into the comedy.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's probably going to come out as really dry.
I mean, shit. Look at Bob Odenkirk. He was in sketch comedy for a good portion of his life with David Cross, Mr. Show, and then plays Saul Goodman, Jimmy McGill, a very nuanced character, mostly in Better Call Saul, but still,
right?
Like has really good dramatic chops.
I just thought of too, like Jim Carrey and Robin Williams. Like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting is fucking unreal.
Robin Williams is like probably one of the best examples of that sort of thing.
Yeah. Like he yes, it's interesting. It's very funny that you say that guy, and it's like, oh man, like I thought this movie was really well done, and to hear that he came from sketch comedy is just another like, oh it's literally how I felt when I heard Jordan Peele did Get Out, and then I watched Get Out, and I was like, how the fuck?
Yeah, if this guy makes another one like this, or even just like another feature-length movie that gets a good release, I will definitely pay attention to it.
I'm in. I mean, I think he just bought himself another ticket.
Excellent. I guess he also played a character named Everett in the movie. I don't remember which one that was.
He probably was.
Was he one of the voices on Justin Long's phone?
Probably. That's my guess. Either that or he was a guy in the bar. I don't know if,
Oh, maybe.
I don't know if that was, I don't think that was him, but I don't know if there was other people in there. Dude, Justin Long in this goes from like being shitty to shittier. Like I kept thinking like, all right, there's going to be some redemption here. Like he'll have.
No, they tease you a little bit with that. And then they just, they rip it away from you.
Well, they do that like at the end. I was thinking like in the beginning, like I was like, oh, maybe that they're setting this up to be like he has to do all this and we're just going to feel bad for him. So all the actions that happen after this, like, could you imagine the sympathy you would have for Justin Long if what happened wasn't true? He's got to do all this stuff financially to save face. He's going in there he is eccentric, but he also is like a good person,
Yeah.
Imagine all the stuff that he's going through in that house, the sympathy that you'd feel for him and how much you'd be pulling for him to get out. But then you just make him a piece of shit and then you just stake it in there after the bar scene. And it's really like you could care less about where he's at. And it almost transitions to like the, Georgina trying to help him.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird, it was like the weird dynamic that they had. Because I wasn't rooting for him at all. And I was kind of for her. But, even then, because we're only with her for, like, a day. Probably 24 hours versus when she got there to what happened. I didn't really have, like, oh, man, I hope she makes it either.
Right.
So and maybe that's why the ending to me was just kind of like, it's for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Just because I whatever would have happened. I didn't really have any sort of, oh man, Actually, what it makes it even better what happened to Justin Long.
Right. I like the fact that I do kind of like the fact that like they do sprinkle in moments where like, oh, is this guy going to be redeemed? But then they make him still like a piece of shit. Like,
oh yeah,
he's very much like, oh, he's a sexual assaulter, and we're not gonna redeem this guy. You kidding me? Like, I enjoyed that they went with that route instead of, oh, now he's gonna save the day.
It was really. I thought that was a great pull of the rug.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I was laughing throughout the second half of that film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was a lot of funny moments.
Yeah, there were some moments where I'm like, what? This guy fucking sucks.
Yeah, 100%.
Was there anything that you wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I feel like this is another movie where it's kind of hard to talk about because of how excellent it was without, I mean, there could be some flaws in it. I didn't really pick up on it, or at least remember anything. That I think the only thing that I was really bugged out about was the relationship and what she sees versus like Skarsgård keeping her there. I think that was like the only takeaway I had, that I was like, all right, that was kind of dumb. But like in terms of everything else you see horror wise, I thought this was really well written. Like you said, I mean, this is like walking through a haunted mansion. Like, you know, you go out to the haunt in Grand Rapids, and it's kind of like you said, there's a lot of mystery, and they do play up the uncertainty really well with what's behind door number 2.
I'm a sucker for something's wrong with this house, and there's more to it than what meets the eye sort of stories. Like, one of my favorite books is called House of Leaves, and that's a very... That is like the core of that story right there.
Oh, really?
It's just like, this house has something wrong with it. We don't know what the fuck's going on. Things are changing all the time. We have to explore deeper, like that sort of story. And
actually, yeah, I think the only thing that like you said, like the ending, I think mine would have been more with the Richard Brake, Frank's little 2 cents on how everything happened. I think I might have liked a little bit more out of that, but even that's like very whatever. Like, you know, you do, you don't.
So what would you rate it?
So I'm not gonna lie. I just like the IMDb. I think I did it fresh, and I think it would still stay in there because every time that we talk about Barbarian, I get like a sense of, you know, over me that's like just a little bit like you've seen it and talk about it. So I gave this a 9 out of 10.
Excellent. I gave this a 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I really like this film overall. I think that cinematically it's really compelling, and the mystery and how it builds upon itself works really well. Really, only criticism is the ending and how rushed it felt, but I can definitely see myself watching this again for sure.
Do you think this is a good movie to have so like, let's say you're doing a Halloween party, and I mean, you get 2 types of movies. You're either going to show something where it's super scary, very enthralling, and kind of like captivating, or you're going to go with the slasher funny, like, all right, look how bad this movie is type deal. Do you think that this could be the former of the 2?
Oh, definitely.
Like, you'd want to have some friends over. And
my friends, I think, would get fucking scared if they watch this movie and those scenes pop up.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of stuff in here where it would be a really fun movie to have going on at a party, because I think everyone's kind of walking through a haunted house.
Yeah,
you know, like I really feel like that's kind of what I was saying with the audience in this, with seeing it with actually people if they were in the theaters. It'd be kind of fun. Like, this one would be a fun one, I think, because everyone's going through this experience, and it's not like Texas Chainsaw Massacre where, you know, it's just you're escaping. I mean, there's so much mystery involved, and you have to open up the doors.
Yeah, like,
you know,
fully immerse yourself when you watch this. Rent an Airbnb for 2 nights
in Brightmoor, Michigan.
Yep. Get the Blu-ray of this when it comes out. Pop it on, turn off all the lights, and just cry.
Yeah.
just cry. And that's pretty much our thoughts on Barbarian.
Sweet.
Speaking of crying,
there's everyone
decent
knows about this one
amount of crying in the film The Blair Witch Project.
Let's go.
Which I recommended. I'm super excited to talk about this one. So I can touch on this.
Yeah.
The Blair Witch Project is a 1999 horror film. It is a found footage film that follows 3 documentary filmmakers who are doing a video project on this myth called the Blair Witch, which is a witch in the history of this town of Burkittsville that used to be called Blair Township. And these students are going through the woods, and they're trying to find different sites for their documentary to get certain shots, and they're interviewing different people. And as they traverse the woods, they find that they get lost. They can't find their way back to the car. Things happen to where it impedes their journey even more, and all the while, all this spooky shit is happening around them. And throughout the entire movie, you're viewing it through the lens of the two cameras that both the characters are holding for the documentary. So it is very much a found footage type film.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the gist of it. This is one of those movies where the making of the movie is almost as important, if not more important, than talking about the movie itself.
The marketing of this thing is one that I feel like that you would put into a book, for young producers, like if you were going to college just to get into filmmaking.
Yeah.
And yes, like it's unreal.
Almost like a disaster artist, but for horror movies, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, but dude, right,
so but not tongue in cheek.
But like, so this comes out in '99, right? And I'm trying to like go back, and one, I think the POV, this is the first one to do it, or at least very like. It wasn't like it's on the precipice of new horror films. Like this created that genre, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was very much had a hand in a lot of the horror movies we see now.
Yeah.
Like Paranormal Activity, Troll Hunter, which we've talked about, Cloverfield, even a movie like Chronicle, which is like a found footage, like supernatural hero movie.
Right.
All those movies I don't think would have existed or wouldn't have been as successful if it weren't for the Blair Witch Project.
And it's insane because not only that, but they had the idea of how to market this and build up the hype for the movie to come out, which it's just really, I think it's really remarkable when you think about 23 years ago, where we're at now with all that stuff, like you just mentioned, all those movies that have come out that we know, the found footage stuff. I mean, it's almost played into it's played itself out of movies nowadays just because of how much we've been beaten over the head with it. That they not revolutionized, but they first movers in that type of market and what they did with the marketing.
So I didn't mention the directors' names, which I'll do now. Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. So they met when they were film students at the University of Central Florida, and they had the idea to do this because they found that horror documentaries were scarier than a lot of normal horror films that were out. And they wanted to do something that kind of encaptured both of those sort of sentiments.
Yeah.
And so they had the idea, they created the entire myth of the Blair Witch and its relation to the town that it's from and all this like backstory for it. And then they did a casting call in I think it was like Backstage Magazine for 3 actors to be a part of the film. And they got Heather, Josh, and Michael to be in it. And they used their real names for the purposes of convincing people that this was a real video that was just found and that these events actually took place.
Yeah.
Which I think is really remarkable. And it's funny, too, because the whole, like, I guess, way they did it was, like, obviously they filmed it. They premiered it at Sundance. I think it was Sundance, hoping that it would get...
I want to say it was Cannes. One of the producers someone at Cannes got kidnapped.
What?
So I read some of the trivia on this. And one of them was they went to Cannes to put up the film, and they were going to put up missing posters of Heather or the actors, just kind of to keep promoting it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was this film or a producer that was at Cannes got kidnapped, so they took down the missing posters out of respect for actual missing person.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's right. Like Sundance, I don't know if Sundance is in a different country or not.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where, but
I'm pretty sure Cannes is like in Europe or I don't.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Isn't that nuts? Dude, they did a lot of marketing for this film.
Yes, they did, and. So they premiered it at a film festival, I'll just say. And this distribution company, it was Artisan Entertainment. bought the distribution rights for like over $1 million.
Really?
And I guess they wanted to like change some things with the ending. And they actually did go back and shoot like 4 different versions of the ending, but they ended up keeping the original anyway because they thought it would leave more mystery and be a little more subtle compared to what they filmed after.
I would agree 100% with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this film, I really like. I think it's one of my favorite horror movies.
This one?
Yes. I think that it is very effectively creepy. Got my heart racing at certain points. I was doing the thing where my arms were up behind me.
Really?
Yeah. Spoilers for Blair Witch, specifically with the scene where they're in the tent and it starts to rustle because there's people outside and you hear children laughing. That scene, I knew it was coming. I'd seen this movie before, but it got my heart racing.
Really?
Yeah. I was creeped out by it. I would have been more creeped out by it if Megan wasn't watching with me. Because if I was watching this by myself, I would have been
interesting.
I would have been a little baby, a little piss baby.
Yeah, I don't. Nope. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing for me that really creeped me out about this, that will stick with me forever, that I even remembered about it going into this, because this movie's like one of the movies where I don't remember exactly how everything unfolds because it's kind of all in the same area. Mm-hmm. So in my head, events get kind of mismatched.
Yeah.
But the very ending with the guy standing in the corner, I'm getting goosebumps now. I'll never. I remember the first time I saw it when that old man told the story about what that guy did with those kids.
Yep.
And you have no idea where it's going. Mm-hmm. And then she gets down there. Completely panicked. And then and it's all of 2 seconds. It's not like they hold the corner. Like that guy's literally just standing in the corner, and you just had, and then it's just boom, 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 you know, and then it just ends. And I'm like, yeah, the ending of that film is just creepy, and it was really well done. I'm glad that they stuck with the original.
Yes, me too. I didn't get a chance to see what the other endings were, but yeah, I'm glad that they went with the one that they did. So it's funny because they hired Josh as one of the actors because of his experience with cameras. They hired him because he was good with camera work, and I think I'm trying to remember why they hired Heather. But I remember them saying like they wanted a lot of actors with like improv skills, and because like I think I was getting to this, but I kind of got lost in the sauce where when they wrote the script, they had certain points that they knew they wanted to get to, but most, if not all, the dialogue that they wanted to write would be improvised by the actors.
Right.
And they filmed it in conditions where like they would give the actors clues through like these different like cans that they would find with like notes in them, and they would make it so that like they would harass them during the night to like make them even more like on edge and kind of creeped out.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go. Yeah, the director, apparently that scene that you're talking about with the kids, that was not in the script.
Okay.
So the director came in the middle of the night, so everything that you hear is genuine. The actors didn't know that was going to happen. So there's a lot of stuff. Like I didn't realize that they were, it was just them.
Yep.
That's another thing that I did. I guess I didn't really realize is that whoever was holding the camera was holding the camera.
Yeah, and they wanted to make it as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And I guess in that specific scene, when Heather runs out the tent, I guess like whoever was holding the camera in that moment, either her or Josh, or like I guess they were supposed to pan left, and you would have seen a shot of like one of the directors like dressed up in this weird garb that would have been the Blair Witch.
Yep.
But they didn't pan over there, and I think it works because like you don't see it. It works because you never see the Blair Witch.
You know how long? So in this one, I'm watching it, and every time that they got out of that thing when something was happening, I was looking in the woods to see, because the production of this, because this movie has such notoriety behind it, you would just have assumed that it was really high end, thought about, executed, written out.
No, it's very much like
this is amateur as amateur could get.
It's very fast and loose
with great Yeah, well, I mean, like, dude, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
think,
just
a lot of the appeal of this movie is like the atmosphere and the whole idea of it being found footage. I think that's what is really the backbone of it. Because without those two things,
well, did you read? I mean, so people were writing to Heather Donahue's mom. She got several letters about condolences, and Heather got enough shit about this because I think that she had to stay like underground. She couldn't make any public appearances. Like she had to wait a couple weeks for after the movie was released.
Yeah.
So once it got into editing, all of them were told to lay low.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be any sort of did you see, can you, all that. That she had to retire from acting in 2008.
Yeah, she had a hard time getting roles because they couldn't differentiate her from that character.
Yeah.
Of her. Basically, being in the movie.
But
like, she said she regrets using her real name in the film because she had a hard time getting roles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just keep thinking, the dollar amount on this thing was unreal.
Yeah, so let's talk about the budget and the how much money it made. So, estimated that it had a $200,000 to $500,000 budget, which a lot of that was like post-production stuff.
I was about to say, because I read 60.
Yeah, the $60,000 was during the filming,
right?
Like actually making the movie,
and then
the post-production added a lot of cost to it, so it made it so that even when you factor in the marketing, it was like $200,000 to $500,000. Right. I saw figures of like $700,000 even on some places.
That's not that bad compared to.
No, not at all. Especially when you consider that the movie made $248.6 million. Yeah, it kind of like not only did it really start the trend of like the found footage being a subgenre of horror,
right?
It kind of pioneered that notion of we're gonna have a really small budget for a horror movie, and then when we put it out, it's gonna fucking make bank no matter what. Like Paranormal Activity. It's kind of like that. Just like horror movies generally have a smaller budget compared to like most other films. Like you think of The Northman, that was like $100 million project. Like I think the budget was like $90 million. And then I'm just gonna look up The Conjuring, see what that made real quick.
So I'd say I think it depends on the props that you use for what you're doing. Now I will say though you're probably like right because you don't really have to live in a different world. Like if you take Halloween, like if you just looked up Halloween in 1978, like dude, literally you just had to get William Shatner's mask on. Whoever played Michael Myers. There's not a whole lot of props and cutouts and trying to you don't have to CGI anything in there for the most part. Some horror movies could be really expensive. Like I bet you Event Horizon costs a shit ton of money.
So The Conjuring had a budget of $20 million. I want you to guess the box office.
For The Conjuring, pretty successful. I'm gonna go 160 million.
$319.5 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, because I think it's like a thrill ride. Like I'm sticking with it because I think people, if it's good suspense, you'd see it again and you bring a friend to see it because you've gone on the ride and then you want to see them get freaked out. It's like that if you go into the corn maze and you get scared in the corn maze, you'll probably go again and bring someone else with you.
I was kind of hoping that my girlfriend hadn't seen this movie before when I watched it with her.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get like a first time watching reaction from it. But she had seen it before, but there were moments where like she was still pretty freaked out while watching it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I was too, and I had seen it before also. But I just wanted that raw like, yeah, this is what the fucking movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shit your pants during that tense scene.
Yeah.
I know you will.
I had, oh my God, I guess maybe too because I had seen it and I knew the first time I saw it, this isn't one where there's more tension, but it's really just, it's not as tense as like the Barbarian for me. And I remember even the first time I saw it, I wasn't genuinely creeped out until the end. And I think this is a good movie of bringing some of that tension above the surface, but not really having it where it's like gonna break my spine.
Yeah,
And I think now, granted, with kind of hearing about how this got made and the actors and all that, it's a very well done job to have it that tense. I mean, they had this, and then, you know, Blair Witch 2 comes out, and I don't think anyone talks about that ever.
No.
And we won't either.
So I want to get your opinion on the characters and the dialogue, and specifically like the constant fights that they get into.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, what do you think of that being throughout the movie? Because it's a constant thing where they're arguing with each other.
So it was really weird, the dynamic of the arguments, because it would go from being like waking up, hope, to fighting, to really pissed off, to go fuck yourself, to, oh my God, we got to go save this person. Like, I try to avoid that stuff. I mean, especially just for me in general, I don't think I have that. If I tell someone to go fuck themselves, I'm going to walk away and probably just be like, well, whatever you do happens to you. So some of what's going on, it's like, I just don't think that they know how to handle their emotions and process what was going on. Mm-hmm. So you see a lot of that stuff come out. I don't know. It was really weird because it almost seemed fake. Kind of what was, it felt like it was written in. So, but from some of the stuff I read was a lot of that stuff was genuine in terms of they kind of put them on a trail, but those guys, they did get lost sometimes. They were giving them less and less food each day to bring up some of the anger. Yeah. And I guess it was a little bit more genuine than what I had thought. But
yeah, I really didn't have too much of an issue with it overall. I thought that it was, for a movie that is supposed to be quote unquote realistic and something that actually took place. I mean, people are messy. People aren't thinking of like story when they're making behind the scenes footage for a documentary. Like, it's very much like in the moment emotions. And so I was reading on Letterboxd some of the reviews for this movie, and some people kind of knocked it because of all the arguing and because of how the characters treat each other. But I mean, I don't think I have too much of an issue with it because the situation is very tense. They're all lost. They're all hungry. They all want to go home. Mm-hmm. And it's just the discomfort of it and the fact that they can kind of place blame on a character or certain characters for certain actions that have taken place. Like, they give Heather so much shit because she was the one in charge of like the directions and like where they would go to for what they had to film. And then they would give Michael shit because he's the one that kicked the map into the river and all this stuff. Like, I really didn't have too much of an issue with it. I guess the only thing that I did kind of was when Michael talks about how he kicked the map into the river. Like, that to me almost felt a little too much of a story beat. Like, to me. Like, to me that felt like, oh, this is a movie that I'm watching. This isn't like a actual found footage video.
It's like some sort of like inciting action.
Yeah.
To invite a situation in that otherwise probably wouldn't happen in 9 out of 10 parties.
Yeah. Like, if they had just kept it at we lost the map and we don't know how, then I would have liked that a lot more than Michael starting to laugh and be like, yeah, it was me. I kicked the map in the river. I tossed the fucker away. Like that sort of thing.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I really wasn't a huge fan of that. But
no, I wasn't either. Like I said, the arguing to me was, it wasn't like disingenuous, but it was definitely, it felt more brought on than what you'd see typically if something like this happened. Like, the problem I guess I had was that we were at day 3, and I was like, this seems like a little much for day 3. Like, if we're out in the woods and if I was out in the woods and like I had a job to go to, like right now, if we were just like, hey, let's go film something up in the UP, and all of a sudden it's like day 3 and it's like, I guess we kind of don't know where we're at. Like, I'd feel a little bit more like, all right, we got to really figure out how we're going to go north or we're going to go south or we're going to push somewhere. And it wouldn't be the screaming, the fuck you. Like, and that day 3 was like the last day. So they were like that on day 2 or I don't remember. We were either out there 3 or 4 days. Like, the level of emotion that was being portrayed felt like more of like stuck out in the woods for a week as opposed to stuck out in the woods for 48 hours. Yeah. You know, it's like, have you never gone camping in your life? Like, you just kind of got to figure it out. Even, I mean, it's.
Yeah. Like, I could definitely see that being something that's like, oh, this is a little too much for like what day we're on.
Yes.
I will say I did like the acting though, like the emotions being portrayed. I thought was really well done. Like when Heather starts crying, or when Mikey is like screaming through the woods, or when Josh is going on like one of his rants about like the situation that we're in, and he's just like, he's not really raising his voice, but he's just kind of done with everything.
He even says it.
Yeah,
just done.
Yep.
I'm done. I'm just done.
Mm-hmm. Like, I really like those moments, and I think they worked really well for the movie. I could definitely see someone having a criticism of they argue too much and it's really repetitive, and I would understand where they're coming from.
There's not much else going on in the film, so I mean, it's
Right.
like, what else? Where's it? You'd have to play so much heavier into the Blair Witch, and I mean, it's a 30. I think it's a made up thing, like,
right?
You know, so I mean, like, what do you?
Yeah,
you'd have to have more going on with them being hunted.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about it. Either you have the amount of arguing that they do in the movie, or you take that out, a good majority of that out, and then you place in more Blair Witch stuff. And then I feel like the Blair Witch stuff wouldn't have been as effective if you had just been bombarded with it. Because you only get like a few moments where creepy shit is happening around them, and then they're reacting to it. So you get the whole stick figures hanging in the trees. You get the pile of rocks. You get the tent. And then Josh disappears, and you get a bag of, was it teeth that she finds?
I think so. I couldn't quite. I was trying to see. I was like,
well, I had always thought it was teeth. And then I was watching it with Megan, and she pointed at it, and she said it looks almost like it could be a scalp, because it had hair coming out of it. But I always thought it was like the Blair Witch's hair or something.
Good. I was looking at it. I asked Jasmine, and she goes, "It's a kidney." And I was like, "Well, this is way off."
Oh, it's a brain, but the eyes are attached and it's moving.
Yeah.
Wacky.
I couldn't. Yeah, I don't know where she was at with the whole thing. I think she said it was spooky. Which,
whatever it is, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, we were looking. I was like, "What is that?" And I was trying to like look, and I was like, "I'm not pausing the film to go in and inspect it." I was like, "Well, whatever it is, it's creeped them out."
Yeah, I feel like online it says teeth, but I mean, the way they filmed it, it could be a scalp. It could be I thought it was a tongue for a second.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, dude. All you have to do is see blood and a little bit of like mushy mass with it to know that shit's kind of serious right now.
Well, blood and the same fabric from his flannel,
right,
that he was wearing earlier.
Yeah, like we're gonna know everything. That's just to make sure that you guys know it is Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say I don't think there's any sort of representation with what was ever in there. I think it was more just we got your friend, we're mutilating him, and you guys know it's your friend.
Yeah.
So
I love the idea, like the inference that you as an audience can just make on your own that the screams from him are probably not him. Like it could be just the witch playing tricks on them.
Oh yeah, well, and they do that throughout the whole time in the woods. It's almost like they entered a realm, like they entered the universe. It's like it's kind of it's stacked down, like you can go in, but now you can't get out.
Yeah,
I forgot what they call it. It's some sort of paradox, I want to say. Anyways, because I'm not that smart and I don't remember anything. So, but almost like they went into that. So anything that was happening in that world wasn't necessarily of our world, which it was it's just interesting to me because you can do that, or you could just go, it's the Blair Witch. So now, but how do you get in there and now you can't get out?
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So I felt like in my head, like I was like, oh, like if you enter this section of the woods, you're in her realm.
Yeah.
Like now she's cast over whatever sort of, like the Scarlet Witch, whatever sort of spell in this territory. So like, because the kids laughing, like with those little kids that were laughing and all that stuff, it's like obviously she's doing her to have us
right. I think that helps too, that you get like a idea of what she's capable of like earlier, because like you said, the kids laughing, it would make you think back to that scene when Josh is screaming for help, and it's like, oh, that might not be actually him.
Well, and they do it from the distance, so it's like, oh, here's the honeypot.
Yep.
Like this isn't This isn't good.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was funny too, because I was talking to Jasmine and I was like, I don't know. I get lost in the woods. The kid's gone. I get teeth, liver, heart, whatever the fuck's in that bag. I'm probably just like, sorry, man. Like, tough one to explain to the police, but
sorry, Josh.
Yeah, like they're like, well, it just killed. That's what I'm saying. Like, it kills me with the arguing and the not being able to communicate your emotions real well, and the fact that they really don't know each other to get to that totally like altruistic gotta save them sense. I didn't really buy into it, but what I did like and what makes it believable is the fact that it's only on day 3. We've kind of seen that they've admitted that there's almost that their demise is on their hands.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they felt they should go get him.
Like Heather has that whole breakdown in the tent before they find the house of, despite what Mikey would say, this is all my fault.
Yeah.
And I'm the reason why we're all probably going to die. And she's crying the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, that whole scene, you definitely get that sense of, like, she feels responsible for everything. So maybe that's a good reason why, like, they're willing to go in that creepy fucking house at the end and go look for their friend.
I think at that point, dude, it was just kind of like, oh, there's something, because... what if you're in their shoes, whether or not you believe or don't believe in the Blair Witch, right? Whether you're strictly doing it for academic purposes or you're trying to get a little coin, right? You see a house like that with how much despair is on them, you're probably like, all right, this is a positive sign that we're going towards society. Right?
Yeah.
So it's
little bit of delirium playing in.
I mean, but like you got to think, like you're 3 days. It's not like they'd been out there for 2 months. I mean, this is the 3rd day, and it's not like if you were out in the woods and you saw some house and you're kind of like, don't know where I'm at. Like, I bet you'd inspect it, or at least you'd wait till the day to do it. So I think just between with what they'd kind of gone through, maybe it was providing a little bit more hope. I saw that house and I was like. When I watched it again, I was like, oh, I definitely feel like this would provide me a little bit more hope that, it obviously it's not.
No.
And you're walking right into that guy's freaking, which is weird too, because the story of the Blair Witch, but she used that guy to kill those kids, right?
Yeah, I'm not too keen on like the whole mythos of it. Like, I'm not super familiar with how it actually worked, even watching it a second time.
It was weird how they explained the whole thing. Like, they don't even talk. They talked about Mary Brown seeing her, and then they talked about the guy and how that guy did it, and the guy blamed someone. I don't know. It was kind of it was odd.
Yeah. So have you seen the other two? There's 2 other movies, right?
I've seen
some sequels.
I saw the one that came out in 2016. Or it was
Okay.
2016. I'm pretty sure it's 2016. Did not see the one that they tried to take the money grab 3 years later or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, and that one is almost, from what I've heard, it's worse than Speed 2. So,
Oh, Jesus. How was the 2016 one?
production value. It's actually funny. I was talking to a friend about it not too long ago. Production value's there. He liked it a little bit more than I did. I didn't. It kind of felt like they were like, it was another, I don't want to say, it could have been found footage. I don't really remember if it was or wasn't, or they had a camera crew that was like
Yeah, like it was an actual story.
Yes, like, hey, we're actually gonna. Yes, exactly. Like we're walking with it. We're showing you. So, and they use some of this is where they were at in the first one when all this happened, and it was kind of like, we're gonna go find the Blair Witch from what they found, from the clues that they gave us a while back. And then it turned into the end of it turned into this weird. The Blair Witch was like real, but they actually have the Blair Witch. So there's a lot of like craziness happening, and it's completely different than the first one. I'll just say that the first one uses the mystery and the angst that you have of trying to find this thing and being worried, and then this one completely just goes 180 and is like, we're gonna show everything, we're gonna scare the fuck out of you like this. So I thought it was all right. I mean,
yeah, what's interesting to me is like, we're gonna show everything, we're gonna scare you. Like, I don't know, the fact that they didn't show anything in this movie is what creeped me out, is what made it effective.
Well, I would say that. Oh, I mean to cut you off. I think
you're good.
No, because I agree with you, but I also think the element of this is a real thing gives credence to sort of some of those notions that we have about monsters being real. And I think that's probably why this one played into it as well. And the fact that you still don't see the Blair Witch, but sort of some of the stories corroborate what we see at the very end to suggest that it is real.
Yeah.
You know, so that, because it could have been, I mean, if you think about it, that could have been a copycat killer. You know, really just someone that sits out there that maybe is a little loose. There's the Jersey killings back in the 70s with little kids that got killed. They came out with a movie because there was they think they found the killer and they didn't. And they thought it might have been a copycat from someone else. Anyways, it could have been the same vein, you know. So, but I agree with you. I think in the way that we talked about Barbarian, more of the effective horror movies that we watch, there's more mystery involved than what meets the eye.
Absolutely. I want to touch on this real quick. I liked I didn't catch this the second time, and I don't know if I'm like thinking about it too much, but so they interview the two fishermen before they like really go into the woods.
Yep.
And one of them is describing what he saw across the river and how he saw like a woman who could have been the Blair Witch, and how she like climbs up the trees in like almost like a weird super fast like she's a squirrel type of way.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if like the crackling that they hear in the woods on like the first night is like the Blair Witch climbing up trees and the branches like snapping beneath her or something. Like, I don't know.
It's what the mind wants to play, dude. I mean, it's like I think we've talked about it before. Some of the element of horror is what the mind plays on itself, as opposed to what we actually are stimulated by. You know, there's I honestly think that you could take that movie, The Blair Witch, and use the same not POV found footage, but you could come up with a story. And it's kind of The Witch. We talked about it with The Witch. It's the same sort of element. You really don't know what's lurking outside of what the mind can process or think about. So all of a sudden, you know, you take a blank canvas of darkness, and all of a sudden you just put in there whatever you want it to be. You know, so that's where a lot of that fear factor comes from, and especially in this one with it telling us that it's a real, this is a real story. I heard the crackling, and I just imagined her just kind of walking around. Like, I mean, you know, it's a lot of it. To me, it didn't matter what the fuck she was doing or where she was at that made it any more creepy. It was the fact that we didn't see her, and you're being hunted.
Yeah.
You know, that makes it worse.
A lot of it is like your own imagination playing tricks on you and kind of going against you. Like just setting things up in the worst way. Your imagination will generally gravitate towards like the worst possible outcome. Yeah,
I mean that's because we're all living bacteria, and it's survival. You know, I mean it's kind of like, all right, if this thing goes sideways, I don't want to think it's just, you know, a Bambi out there.
Yeah,
like that'd be the worst thing to happen. Is you're like, I'm gonna walk out there and give this thing a sugar cube and it will go away. You know, like you gotta go into, and then after hearing all of the stories that these. It'd be interesting if they didn't have the story of the Blair Witch, if they skipped the testimonials, and like what would we have thought it was?
Right.
You know, that's another kind of interesting concept, is that they build up a little bit of the mythos, as you're saying, but if that could have easily been built up without that, they could have ran into the two fishermen, and let's say he doesn't tell them the story about crawling up that tree, they just kind of go into the, I've seen her a couple of times. I mean, well, at least we think we have, you know. You haven't seen them. You haven't seen anyone, you know, and then we go from there, because, you know, and it might not have changed anything, just because, like you said, I mean, we're going to imagine the worst thing possible.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap this up?
Nope, I don't think so. I mean, we kind of, it's really cut and dry, and a lot of what happens with the tension and stuff. I'm glad you brought up the arguing stuff, because it was something that annoyed me the second time I saw it, and I wasn't sure if it was, you know, building tension to build tension, or if it was actually effective. But like we said, I don't think there's much else that you could have that would be fillers in between the day and night.
What would you rate this film?
I think I go 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Effective. It's creepy. Even on the second viewing, it's still palpable. Yeah.
Okay.
like I didn't. It's like a horror film. I mean, as soon as you see it the one time, and this one definitely loses a lot of the lust once you kind of know what's going on. Because it really built up. That's why the marketing of this thing just really blows my mind. Like I can't believe these guys were that far ahead. And
it did a lot of favors for the movie.
Oh my god! So, but it's still really effectively well done, and it's even that came out in '99, right? And like watching it, even watching it right now, I don't think I want this is a '99 film.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like the clothing and some of like what they were showing, but once you're out in the woods. I mean, 16 millimeter. So if we went out there today, it'd look the same way.
Yeah, I don't think this movie will ever be dated necessarily.
Oh, dude, real quick too. So I read this in the trivia. They rented a camera from Circuit City or bought it, and then after the filming for the 8 days, they returned it and got their money back.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude, they gotta save budget somehow.
That's what it said. It even furthered the budget. I was like, I fucking love these guys. Yeah. They came up with their own story of the Blair Witch, shot it, made 250 fucking, clams, and then they took the camera back.
Circuit City's like, this is why we're out of business.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God. Could you imagine that guy that's like watching the Blair Witch and it's like, those guys.
Yeah, he's like the CEO of Circuit City. He's just like all just despondent, like just completely messy, like has no money. He's watching the commercials for Blair Witch and he's like, God damn it.
Yeah. Oh my God. He threw that remote at the wall.
Yeah.
It's even funnier though. Like now even think about it, do you think they sold that to someone else? Like, do you think someone's out there that just had been using that camera too because they didn't know it was returned?
I like thinking about that as a possibility.
Oh my God. That would be so. And then like, yeah, they listen to our pod and then like, so everyone goes back. They're like going through receipts from Circuit City.
And then they send us the camera as a gift to the podcast.
Yes.
And then we just have it. Oh man, this is a great thing that's happening.
If you're listening, or 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, we got to find that camera.
Yeah, it's really important that we get that camera.
Yeah, right. They won't give it to us. Who'd they go and sell it?
They would sell it to someone who would then give it to us because the person they sold it to is a fan and loves us very much.
Yeah, giving us yes.
I give this movie a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I really like this movie. I think that it's presented in a very, very tight and effective way. I like the way it's filmed. I like the whole story behind it. And I was very effectively creeped out overall.
Yeah.
The only really criticism is like some of the dialogue stuff, specifically with certain pieces that feel like they're story beats, like the whole map thing.
Yep.
But otherwise, I really enjoyed it.
Nice, cool. So I mean, I guess flip flop on, and I'm not going to say that this thing's outdated. I mean, I think I think I wasn't as creeped out as much as you were, but this is still a really effective movie.
Yes,
100%. And how tight it is. This is a great point A to point B. Really smooth. Really smooth.
Speaking of smooth, our audience is really smooth in that they came in clutch with some good questions that we got.
Huge.
Yes. Huge. Absolutely huge questions. Questions from our audience. We love you. Thank you very much. Best audience. Hugest audience ever. Have you ever heard Jamie Foxx's impersonation of Donald Trump?
Mm-mm.
It is surprisingly scarily accurate. It is really good. So if you have the chance, look up Jamie Foxx Trump impersonation. It's almost scary how well he can do it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Our first set of questions, I should say, comes from a good friend of the pod, Jay Hall.
Let's go, Jay Hall.
His first question is,
shout out.
Which horror world do you prefer, The Conjuring or Insidious? I'll let you answer this because I have not seen either. So.
Wow.
I know. So, shocker.
Yeah. Give me my platform. Honestly, I would have to go with The Conjuring. I think only because Insidious feels a little bit more out of my control on what's happening. And the fact that the people that are in The Conjuring, I don't want to give anything away since we haven't seen it. So Patrick Wilson, our boy, Pat Wilson, is in there with
Pat Willie.
What's her nuts? I can't.
Vera Farmiga.
Yeah. No, yes. Yeah. And then there's another character, the mom. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, they play like real. They're kind of like they were.
Yeah, they're like kind of almost historical figures in a way.
Really, they are, and no one knows if what they did was accurate or not. Like if they put on a show or if it was actually like they say, like the Annabelle doll. I'm pretty sure it was like a real thing that was part of their what they did when they were exercise houses, and this they had something that. So, anyways, I'd want to be more in that world because they're in it with me too, so I could rely on them to help exercise my house.
Yeah.
Or Insidious, it's like you're getting fucked with. I'm pretty sure if I can remember correctly, because there's that, and I think Pat Wilson's in that one too, dude.
He is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Between that and then there's one with Ethan Hawke that I always get mixed up.
Oh, Sinister.
Yes. Both those kind of feel of the same vein of not being able to escape and kind of living in that world with what's going on and not being able to get out, so it's kind of being almost tortured. So I would definitely go with The Conjuring just because of the fact that there are people that could help me. You know,
I'm a little more familiar. I mean, not having seen either of them, I'm a little more familiar with The Conjuring and like kind of what it's about. And I know, aren't there more movies that take place in like the Conjuring world, air quotes, than Insidious? So I guess
based on true events. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if The Conjuring, that exact house was or wasn't, but the people are real and what they did was real. So, and they used that in The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2 that was out in London was based on real events.
Okay.
So now to how loosely do we describe real events? Like,
yeah,
it's Hollywood. So, but
right.
That's why I'm saying, like, whether these things really did or didn't happen. I mean, it's like those two people, they could have put on a show every time they went out and made names of themselves just by figuring out how to, There's a great movie called The Last Exorcism that you got to watch one of these days.
I'll check it out. Put it on my watch list. His second question, Royal Rumble. You put Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Chucky, Leatherface, Ghostface, Pennywise, and Jigsaw in a ring together. Who's walking away?
Oh, I did this in my head. I got Pennywise.
Really?
Yeah, just because he can morph into anyone's fear. He can morph into whatever. And, I mean, it's, I know he's a clown, but he obviously can change subject matter.
The only one on this list that I'm not familiar with is Ghostface. What's he from? Like, what movie?
I don't know. Actually, and I had the same one. I don't know. Here, hold on. Since you don't know Ghostface, I don't think you're going to be picking Ghostface.
No, probably not. I guess if I had to pick anyone out of this, I would probably pick Jason Voorhees, because I think as a character, he's
Scream.
Oh, okay. So I know who he is then.
Yeah, he's the last one.
The Scream guy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't pick him.
No.
I'd probably pick Jason just because.
Jason?
Well, he's like, his character is almost like Force incarnate. Like, he's just a character that just kind of like Michael Myers in a way. He just follows you and kills you and like pops out of nowhere. He's almost like, I don't want to say omniscient, but he's just inescapable at points, right? And he always seems to be coming back. I mean, shit, they have like a fuck ton of Friday the 13th sequels, right? So
we got a fuck ton of all those sequels.
That's true. So yeah, I'd probably pick Jason.
You'd go Jason? I can't believe you're going Jason.
Yeah, I mean, Pennywise is up there.
Let's just say Chucky's done. Chucky's not making it.
Chucky's not making it.
So, like, first one, like, we're doing
it.
Royal Rumble. Like, you're aware of the concept of Royal Rumble, right?
Yes.
Like, they get into now. Shall we say they're killing each other? Royal Rumble.
I'd say they get a square acreage of woods that they have to hunt each other.
Okay.
Kind of like I don't know, battle royale style.
Really?
Yeah.
That kind of changes my Chucky thought.
I don't think Jigsaw would win.
No, dude, Jigsaw would have to use the others to, or he'd probably set up some elaborate traps, and he would probably be well hidden.
Right, but once you find him and kill him, then then he's done.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so like,
Freddy Krueger.
if you go that route, dude, I don't know. I don't think Jason makes that out. Jason, Michael Myers, and Freddy are all, I mean, unless...
They're all kind of like the same sort of figure.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, they're big, they're lumbering, and like, I think almost out in the woods, you'd have to be a little... That's why Chucky, I think, gets like a little dark horse in this.
Yeah.
Because you can't see him. Well, actually, he's got that fucking bright red hair.
What about Leatherface? Leatherface is... like almost the
I
same.
think he's the first one done.
Really?
Yeah, well, only because he is mere mortal and he just has a chainsaw.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I think Jigsaw would take out Leatherface like that.
Okay.
Like I almost have something in my head where it's like he rigged the chainsaw so he finds a new one and it's like a bomb and it just explodes knives into his face. But then like the other three, like Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers. Like, because they're out in the open constantly, like, they're not hiding and they're not cunning.
No.
You know?
I think about Jason Voorhees and I just think, like, pure resilience. Like, he's someone
you're
who,
thinking
like,
he's gritty.
Yeah. I'm
Kinda
thinking
like
he's, like, kind of like John Wick. Like, he just barrels through it and kind of is a force of nature almost.
Okay.
And that's kind of what is backing up my answer, I think.
Okay, so you're going with the grit aspect of it.
Pennywise is more like just almost like a spiritual...
That's why you can't... It's hard to kill him. How did they kill him in It too?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you think about it too, he can transmorph into anything, right?
He can transform into like your fears, like your biggest
That's what
fear.
I'm saying. So Chucky, it would obviously be like a little kid, right?
Yeah. So Chucky's out for sure. Ghostface is gone. Leatherface is out. Jigsaw, he might last a bit, but I don't think he would make it.
I think the cleverness and his traps can only go so far because if they don't work, he's not getting away.
Exactly. He's got to rely on like happenstance a lot of the time.
Yeah, like they have to go into the right spot. Like you have to lure him into the right spot.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't pick Jason as an answer, how far do you think he would go?
I didn't pick Jason.
Well, I know you didn't.
Oh, you're saying like in my little scenario?
Like where, like obviously you pick Pennywise.
Yeah.
Where on the chart do you put Jason?
I think him. So the reason why I have a hard time with it is because I have a Jason versus Freddy movie. Mm-hmm. So like honestly, like right there, those two guys are tied neck and neck.
Yeah.
So like if you had those two pitted against each other, and I don't remember who wins in that movie, I'm like Michael Myers is getting further than them.
Interesting.
Because Michael Myers, like you're fighting. So like the next one, if like let's say Jason did take out Freddy in that film, and I don't know, so there's no spoiler. The next movie is Jason versus Michael, right? Like kind of he's like on that like the alpha list, but those are all like physical, like what entities.
Yeah.
So like I think it would be. I think Freddy's out. I don't know how far you can go with the claws.
And the whole dream thing.
Yeah, like you'd have to fall asleep. Like if you don't, like let's just say like we're in this battle royale and he does morph, unless he makes you fall asleep, because that's in the movie Freddy vs. Jason. That was the only way that he could take it to Jason was like drugging him. I think. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It's kind of like weird to think now that Jason Voorhees would fall asleep.
Right.
So that way, like Freddy's out. Like he's in the physical world, but the only way he's actually super powerful is in this dream world. Mm-hmm. So he's gone. So it's like now, I mean, really, I got Pennywise, Michael, and Jason left. I think. Who else was in there? I mean, we kind of this Ghostface is out.
Ghostface is out. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Leatherface.
Yeah.
Pennywise.
I think Leatherface is honestly the first one to go.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm not
think
too.
About it. He's got a fucking chainsaw.
I'm not too confident in him either.
Like you hear him coming from a mile away.
Yeah,
like
he's not sneaky at all. He's super obvious.
Yeah.
At least Jason, I feel like, is a little more sneaky. He kind of pops out of nowhere.
Exactly, and he's kind of in his woods. I mean, or in his realm.
Right.
Michael Myers. Actually, you know what? I think in my head right now, and it's not just because you picked him. I got Pennywise versus Jason.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I mean, and Pennywise comes from the fucking sewers, and he's all about that shit. So,
right.
So
just fucking lives like Charlie and Always Sunny.
So I mean, I'll just leave it right there. I mean, that's as an audience, if you guys want to comment on that stuff, let us know who you guys got. Go for it. I'd take Pennywise. I think if we got to it, Pennywise versus Jason. I'm not gonna lie though. I think Jigsaw and Chucky make it further than what we thought. I actually think Chucky might be the one that takes out Jigsaw and Leatherface.
Okay.
Chucky's like 2 feet tall in the night. Like, think about it, dude. You're not seeing him move in the shadows. It'd be like
trying to find a black cat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, like, you're definitely not finding him.
His last question in this set is, what are you carving into your pumpkin this year? Haven't decided yet. I'm actually growing a pumpkin out by my driveway.
Really?
Well, I say I am, but the previous owner of this house planted it, and I didn't know it existed until it started invading my driveway.
Oh, wow.
And there's like a little, like, small to medium sized green pumpkin that's
nice,
that's laying right there, that is getting a little bit bigger, I think, as time goes on. But I mean, we'll see. It's not orange yet. And
okay.
I don't know if it ever will be. It might just be one of those green pumpkins.
Little preemie pumpkin.
Yeah, like one of those you get at, like, the farmer's market. There, you're like, this will be cute next to the big one. And then you put it down.
Yep.
It's like one of those pumpkins. But
poor pumpkin.
As far as carving, I don't know. When I do carve pumpkins, I always try to, like, use a stencil, so, like, to make it look interesting. So, like, one year I did the Skyrim logo. Another year I did Mario, which I was super proud of.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of what I did last year. I think I just did a normal face, but I don't know. I feel like I want to do something that's slightly more complicated but doable. You know, like Mario was that way. He was like a little bit of a skill to learn, but it was
challenging,
possible.
But nothing out of the realm.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna do fucking Van Gogh on on a pumpkin. Although that might be interesting.
That would be.
Starry Night.
No, I was just thinking about actually just doing Van Gogh on a pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, without the ear.
Just Willem Dafoe as Van Gogh.
Oh my god, dude.
Not even Van Gogh.
And then on the back of it, stencil out, it's fucking ugly. It's fucking hideous.
This is very ugly.
Yeah. That would be great.
You just turn the pumpkin around when trick-or-treating is done.
Yep.
This is very ugly.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Oh my god. I'm tempted now, but we'll see.
If you could do it.
Yeah. Sam has a question for us. Your brother Sam.
Who?
Your brother. You know. You might know him. I don't know. If they made a movie about a game show, Jeopardy, Price is Right, Minute to Win It, etc., what would you want to see, and who would you cast? Also, please guess the outcome of the movie with box office gross and Rotten Tomatoes. And I have a little bit of an idea.
Oh, really? You already got one.
I just came up with it.
Okay.
The Floor, you know that show on Netflix, The Floor is Lava, that they had? It was
oh,
like
my God. Yeah, Preston
show.
Loves that show.
Yeah. Have that, but have it be like a horror thriller movie with actual lava. And
wait, so hold on. Oh, so this doesn't have to be like a documentary or
I mean, it
about
could be.
that show?
I'm
like you're just
thinking of
taking
it,
the concept of the show?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like take the concept and make it into a compelling movie. I mean, you could make a documentary out of it too. Like,
well, I'm not thinking. I'm thinking more of
fine.
like a biopic, like
yeah, you
like
could
they
go
do
that
Who
route.
Wants to Be a Millionaire, but it's like more. It's based on Regis Philbin, like being like coked out and drugged up for half of it.
Right.
It's like towards the tail end of it when they're like, we got to find someone else, and it's just him. Yeah, that's not my answer. So go on. I'm trying to think of mine.
I'm just thinking like in terms of novelty, because I always liked the idea of that show. And I actually watched a couple episodes. I wasn't like a huge fan of it. I think it's very much geared towards like kids. But in terms of like the concept, I would like to see that played out in like an actual scenario. Like this guy who kidnaps people, forces them to like do floor is lava. And then it wouldn't really
actual lava. So like people get in there and die.
Like it, I feel like the novelty might wear off pretty quickly. I mean, how much could you really do with that just as a concept alone? You'd have to add so much into it, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be interesting to see, and it'd probably like get people interested in it. Like I don't know. I would probably cast, for some reason, Keegan-Michael Key is popping up in my head.
Cool.
I'd cast him, and then I feel like the movie would be a box office bomb. That's my guess.
31% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was really fun to make.
Budget of $70 million. Gross of $28 million.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
That's my guess for my answer.
You're probably spot on, because I'm telling you right now, I'm like,
right? You're like on the fence about
listen,
it.
though, if your name was attached to it, I would be like, I got to check it out. And then after I watch it, I'd be like, it was really good.
Yeah, because you're my friend.
Yeah.
You
Like
want to make me feel good.
Give me some feedback. Like, I just liked it.
Can I see your IMDb rating? No.
No,
you don't need to.
Yeah, that's all good.
Don't you trust me?
I would do so. Like, I was just thinking about it. Like, honestly, I'm more into like the characters, so I would want to do a. I would it'd be like, American Idol, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or Jeopardy. Okay, because being the sole focus on the main character, but I'm thinking of the main character if they were like.
I was just like, I had a point to bring up, but keep going.
But like from Magnolia, if I could make it like was his Philip? Is it Philip? Oh my God, what, I can't remember his name.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was a different character.
No, but the older guy, I can't remember.
I can't remember his name.
But
either.
anyways, if he was like that, because if we found out if like Alex Trebek or Regis, like you know that they had some fucking problems.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, kind of building off that, like a film just about Alex Trebek, I think would be interesting. Get someone to portray him. I'm trying to think of like an actor who could play Alex Trebek. I mean, not Will Ferrell, probably, even though he did it in the SNL skits.
No, I want to get someone that's got a little bit of it's kind of like cockiness. Like, he was like definitely like, he didn't know the answers, but he acted like he did. Actually,
yeah.
Patrick Wilson probably would be a really good Alex Trebek.
I don't disagree with that. I think that would be a interesting choice for sure.
Because he's kind of got that like half-hearted smile that he knows a little bit more of what's going on in the room than you do.
Yeah,
so to give him just a little bit of the top, and then but then we get to see the home life, and then you get to see like how his relationships have deteriorated. Like, probably got into chain smoking, like womanizer, just so like really like, I just like the grittiness that's behind some of these guys that we don't really know about. Like, Regis would be a really funny one, I think, if we caught the last 2 years of it, if like he did, because he's always smiling. He's like, and we'll be back to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but then like he gets on and he's like, the guy from Magnolia, just give it, hurry up with the scotch, like just chains, and then puts it down. It's like, and we're back.
How old is Richard Gere right now? Is he too old to play? Dude,
he would be a good Regis.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Wait, are you thinking of Alex?
I was thinking of Trebek, but I mean, he could maybe play Regis.
I'm almost leaning more for him on Regis. I could see him being Alex Trebek too. I think Alex Trebek never looked like old though.
No, I mean, he always looked distinguished. Like, he never looked elderly to me.
Right.
He just kind of looked like he was old-ish.
Yeah.
The white hair, the like really gray white hair didn't help, but
no, but I mean, at the same token, it's never like he was really like, oh man, like the lines are popping today.
Oh yeah, no.
Like he always
looked good.
That's what I'm saying. For the last probably 15 years, he's always looked like he was like 58.
So, what would your box office and Rotten Tomato score be?
I think on that, it's really character driven. So depending on how passionate we are and how much there is behind what happened in the life, you definitely get a lot of the older demographics. Because like if you do it on Regis, you're gonna capture probably my parents, me. And that's probably about it, right? Alex and Jeopardy. Jeopardy probably holds a little bit more because it's still going on. And so you might be able to capture a little bit of the younger audience, especially people that's seen SNL.
Right.
I think people check it out, but because it's a biopic and it's probably just going to be like, oh, he turned into this monster that we never knew about, if it's really true. I think it toes the line. I'm going to say that it probably cost me probably about $65 million to make, and we're probably teetering anywhere from like the 55 to 95 range.
Okay.
Just because I think it would even out and it'd be like a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes because
nice.
Because it's character driven. So I mean, like you get those movies. Some movies that are really character driven are really simple in nature, but because of the acting was like phenomenal. You know, it's like, man, this movie really turned out to be fantastic. But then you get some other ones that are just fucking turds.
Yeah.
So I think I've seen enough to where I think it's a safe bet on what's going to happen. Enough people would want to check it out to break even on it. And if you get, and then the driving force is if it's good acting or bad acting. If it's bad acting, it's probably just under that. If it's good acting, I think we were looking at that 75 to 95 range.
I didn't say my Rotten Tomatoes for mine, but I guess I would say like 29%.
Yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that would be. But audience
score would be fucking at least 70.
Oh yeah, you're like everyone's like really fun slasher horror.
It's like the critics got it wrong with this one.
Yeah. Chris Pratt was good.
This movie is everything I needed and wanted it to be.
Yup.
I saw someone say that about the Tomorrow War, and I just said, "Fuck off."
What was that? A bunch of nothing?
Yeah, right. What did you want out of this? Fucking stupid.
What was that really bad one that we watched? The one with Chris Pine or not? Shit, who was it? It was Gosling and Chris Evans.
The Gray Man.
The Gray Man. That was what I read on one review. It was like and I was like, what? A bunch of fucking nothing, stupid action that goes nowhere. Yeah. How the fuck did you just put this on? You could have had your TV off and said the same thing.
This movie was everything I needed and wanted to be. Empty calories.
Yeah, I bet you if I muted it and had it on in the background while you were writing a paper, you would have said the same thing.
Dude, that was my review for Blonde. I wrote, this movie is great if you watch it at 2 times speed and on mute. Oh, yeah. I wrote that on my letterbox.
Nice.
That's funny that you mentioned that. Tyler has a question for us.
Let's go. He
asks, what makes a movie a classic? What movies do you consider to be classics? And what are your favorite and least favorite classics? So I don't know if there's a definition for what makes a movie a classic, but for some reason in my mind, I'm thinking at least 25 years old. I don't know why I think of that as a parameter for it being a classic.
Well, so if parameters right now for me, it's got to stand the test of time. Mm-hmm. So you can't have a lot of people say instant classic, but I'm I think it's only a classic if you watch it 10 to 15 years later in my head of something that I would deem a classic, just because I know if I watched it after that amount of time, I would. And the Blair Witch, I'd almost say is a classic.
Yeah. So for sure there has to be at least with us, there has to be some kind of time that has passed before you can even consider it to be a classic. And I think
I'll go, let's say 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah. Cause I think we're now teetering on for me of movies from 90s, and then just now we're waiting to get past the 2000s to see if because 99 is when the Blair Witch came out. Watched it again, and I was like, this holds up. This is a very well done, nice tight story, kind of creepy. I wouldn't be ashamed if I had to ask people to watch this and have them judge my movie taste on it. I think that's another one too that kind of goes with me of I have my classics, you know, I got, and then there's shit that I'm I definitely am not showing anyone to hear what they think. Right. Don't need, I have it in my head. I know what it is. Speed 2 was one of them.
Yep. I was going to say.
Took the jump. Knew it for what it was worth though. Speed 2 being a classic, it's a Mackie Parker classic. I'll say that. That's a PMC. Me and Sam got the PMCs. That is a PMC.
It's a very much you classic.
Yes.
When I think of classic movies, for some reason Shawshank Redemption pops up in my head, and I really like that movie.
Yeah,
I think I would consider that to be one of my favorite classics.
But even that was 93,
right?
So that I don't think you have to do once it's a classic, it's a classic. I don't think you gotta.
I don't know. I don't gotta do the little finger bends.
Now, let's say you say No Country for Old Men, 2005. We haven't got the 20-year mark yet, so that one would be a classic.
Yes,
because I think it's gonna
air
get
quotes.
There Will Be Blood.
Yes, absolutely.
I would also think that movies that you would I say show other people, but I think if we had to agree, if we held a movie class, we would put it into class being part of the classic.
Nice.
We'd have to have like we wouldn't be, we could talk about it and show the depths of the movie depending on what we were actually watching.
Yeah. So what would you consider to be like one of your least favorite classics? Because for me, I don't know if it's because I've like passively seen it so many times. Like I've never even like sat down to watch this movie purposefully. I just have experienced it so much, just like passively throughout my life. But I don't know. I'm not huge on Forrest Gump. Like that's not, that's not one that I'm like clamoring to like talk about or watch with people.
Interesting that you're picking on the 93 year.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction also in that year. So I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
Sam's like rolling around right now. Sam's gonna be like, fuck.
Yeah. Sam is.
Shawshank was 94. God damn it.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
I don't know. Like I can mostly speak of in terms of ones that I really like some older Tarantino, like Pulp Fiction.
So I'm going to tell you right now, probably anything before the if it's before the 70s and labeled a classic, I'm going to struggle with it.
Yeah.
Even in
same here.
Some of the movies from the 70s they teeter on, you know, they're enjoyable, and some are just like you see it, it's like, God, that was good. I'm glad I saw it. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm sure there is. I shouldn't say it like that. I mean, a movie's a movie, and whether you're like, oh shit. The fucking what? Oh my god, I can never remember the goddamn name. Stalker. Stalker was one that I would say is a classic, but that would be one that I wouldn't have, that I wouldn't. Well, I shouldn't say wouldn't like. It made me think, but I definitely wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Fight Club is a classic.
You're still going from the 90s, dude. Like when
I'm scrolling back down. Don't worry.
I haven't heard one from the 80s yet. Blade Runner would be in there. I think Blade Runner is a classic.
I mean, Jaws is a classic.
Dude, Jaws is so fucking good.
It's a good one.
Oh my god.
Alien.
Yeah.
The Shining. Mm-hmm. I was gonna bring this up, but I almost forgot. The Thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good classic. One of your favorites. So I think in terms of like the definition of classic, I think there are movies that can be classics, but they don't necessarily have to be like positively received. So movies
those would
like
be cult classics.
Well, I'm thinking of like movies like Christmas Vacation, or even just like the normal vacation movie.
Trying to get vacation movies into classics?
Well, like something that like A Christmas Story, like things that you wouldn't necessarily consider like to be great movies, but you kind of look back on them and like they definitely have their mark.
Yeah, they say that. That's why I have like A Christmas Story. I would definitely throw into being a classic. But there you go. There's another least favorite classic right there.
Right. A Christmas Story. Yeah, for sure. Christmas Vacation.
I've never seen it.
That one is, in my opinion, the best of the vacation movies.
Yeah.
And I will hold that opinion till the day I die.
Nice.
I mean, would you consider something that came out in 1957 to be a classic?
Dude, I mean, 20 years or greater.
Yeah, so 12 Angry Men.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yep. Grease, consider it a classic. Like, people love that movie.
Like for my own definition, it's got to be greater than 20 years. It's got to be a movie that I wouldn't be like ashamed to show to friends. I'd say probably. Or something that you could put on with about 30 different people and then talk about the subject matter, about what was the importance of the time of what it accomplished or what it did.
Yeah.
Grease is one, I think, just of the time kind of captured. It was a little bit, musical, captivating, I guess. I don't know. There's nothing really spectacular about it besides the performances of what we saw. But I think because it'd be a movie that if you had a bunch of people over, you could probably throw on if they'd never seen Grease, and I think they would enjoy it. Yeah,
definitely. Our next question comes from Gideon.
Hey, let's go. Congrats, Gideon.
What is a movie subject / theme / idea you would like to be made, and with what actors? For example, seeing Willem Dafoe play a grandfather in a sort of Gran Torino-esque style.
Interesting.
I think it would be cool if we had a... and I know they've been made before, but I think if we had a decent and good like H.P. Lovecraft sort of movie, like Call of Cthulhu, something like that.
Sure.
I think that would be really nice. And I mean, I think I would still pick Willem Dafoe for that just because of what I've seen of him in The Lighthouse. I think thematically he would work really well with that setting, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
What would you say?
I don't know. This is the one that I remember running through my head. I used to have just movie ideas out on what I'd like to do. Honestly, I'm kind of struggling right now trying to pick up something creatively on the spot. So,
I think I have another one too.
Do you? Why don't you do that real quick? I'll see
Yeah.
if something pops in my head, and if nothing does, I'm just going to fall back on Regis being drunk and womanizing.
So I know we have Blade Runner 2049, but if we had like another type of like sort of synthwave, kind of like cyberpunky, but like have it be almost kind of like really action heavy, but like high production value, I think that would be super sick.
You kind of going on with like a cyberpunk vibe?
Yeah. So like something
Rad.
like that with Keanu Reeves in it, doing all the action. I mean, I would see it day one, not gonna lie. Even if it's not good, I would see it. So, yeah, something like that.
Oh, dude, I know.
What's that?
Well, it's not the greatest right now, but biopic on the steroid era of baseball.
Okay.
Like, I think that would be really fun. It could be super gritty. You're talking about the biggest names in baseball doing the biggest things on that stage. People showing up in droves. Think it'd be fun to see how much of a fucking psycho Barry Bonds is, because he's like a recluse up to this point. Like, no one. He is like Jordan. You know, like when Jordan retired and did all this stuff, like you'd hear stories on Jordan, but you never he was just never in the public limelight. As soon as he faded, he was gone. He just was like, I got all my money and bounced. But there was nothing ever that he like any controversies of what Jordan did. Like Barry Bonds right now, after what Aaron Judge did with the home run record, and sorry for everyone that isn't involved with sports, but like there was a big moment that this guy broke the AL home run record, and now there's all this talk of that should be the home run record because the other guys that broke these did steroids. So I think it'd be really fun to be back in 2005 with some of that, like what was going on in the world, the baseball landscape, the fact that Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa were all in this era doing things that everyone kind of knew. So like getting either we're on the back end of Barry Bonds, so like how it would go would be we're in the trial with the steroids of what's going on with Barry Bonds, and then we're reliving that season with him and chasing McGuire. And you could really have either McGuire or Sosa be kind of the antagonists of the film, with him, and it really is like kind of like dealing with an anti-hero with Barry Bonds, but he's got to keep going and pushing past this. And he didn't only break the record, like he obliterated it. And I think it was set by McGuire like 2 or 3 years earlier, like with him, Sosa, and Griffey. And then you could have Griffey kind of in the background that's been this really swell guy that everyone likes. So you can use some of that contrast of like how good Griffey was for the sport versus what Bonds was doing, what everyone kind of suspected he was doing, what he never admitted. And now you get to the trial of what happens with all that stuff as the names get broken down. And you can see like what maybe the drugs did to his relationships with all these people around him. Like how he kind of turned into like a Daniel Plainview maybe, because of what he did and had to do. And how he had it. And he was like the Michael Jordan of baseball for all of 4 years. Like that's as long as he had, or maybe it was 7, to be the new Babe Ruth. Like if that scandal doesn't come out, Barry Bonds is revered as the greatest baseball player of all time.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, those stories were coming out and how big of a deal it was.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even paying attention to baseball at all.
And you still knew. It was kind of like, oh shit, this is like kind of impactful.
Yeah. Definitely had a wide sort of touch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. So like, I don't know who I'd have as Barry Bonds though. That's like the thing. Like there's a couple like, I'm trying to think.
You'd have to get like a really buff African American actor.
I was like thinking of like
Terry Crews or something.
Yeah, but he's too goofy. Like you need someone that would be like really Oh, dude, actually, you know who I do? The guy from that was in Bird Box and Moonlight.
Oh, that actor?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
I don't either, but he would be perfect. He would, like, if he shaved his head, shaved the the chin strap, or is like and just did that. He was like, because Barry Bonds was jacked, but like he was probably like 230 jacked.
Okay.
For baseball standards, like he looks roped, but those guys in baseball, like, dude, Judge is 6'7", like 260. Like you take a football guy and that's like a tight end linebacker, but well, the 6'7" part isn't, but. Those guys in baseball, they all kind of looked like super yoked, but it's just relative to who they're standing by.
Right, exactly.
But I think that'd be a really fun story, and that's a gritty biopic that I'd want, because you're still dealing with drugs, tarnished relationships. I mean, impactful things impacting like the nation, and then you got this guy who had it for all of it, and then we get to see the fall of the kingdom, and his fucking legacy just going out the window.
Yeah.
And it would be really easy to open it up with him at his house, and it's like, in other news today, Rafael Palmeiro gets caught, and like he's just watching ESPN, and you can see him kind of like, oh shit, like it might get to me. Like it's just, and then it's like the knock on the door, like, hey, and boom, there we go. Anyways, there you go. How about that, huh?
How about that?
We always get to bring sports back and do it. All right, sport
You
ball.
always manage to sneak it in.
Yep.
Thank you guys for giving us your questions. We are a little strained on time, so we have to move on with the recommendation, but we will answer the other questions that we didn't get to on our next episode.
Absolutely. We love you guys for asking those things, so we want to make sure that we get to them. Plus, I like answering them in long-winded lights that take 8 minutes.
Yeah, you guys gave us some good-ass questions, so appreciate it. Speaking of appreciation.
Yeah, we're going to show our appreciation.
I get to appreciate you when you give me your film pick recommendation.
So are we good with doing two? I got two recommendations. I think that they're both this is for anyone. I know one person's going to probably have a fucking fall into a coma after doing this for Joy.
Yeah, I'm good with two.
Okay. So the first one we're going to do, this is a PMC. Okay. This is oh my god, it's a horror. So guys, we're gonna do this because of Halloween. So at least when this drops next Sunday, you guys have a week to. Is it a week that they'll have to watch this once this drops?
I mean, they really get 2 weeks because it's 2 weeks between the releases.
So and you probably put on if you want to, but check it out. Anyways, the first one's gonna be, it's a park movie classic. You're going to love it. I'm telling you right now. Stephen King novella that got made into a movie. It's spooky. It's called Silver Bullet.
Interesting. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. It's and maybe I'll save the story, but I saw this at a very young age. My dad was like, everyone was talking about what would scare you. Me and my brother were like, I think I was like 6.
I'm guessing it's about werewolves. Okay. Mac is nodding his head.
Oh, it is that one. That's the one that I can't wait to talk about. This one I haven't seen. This is what I hear is good for Halloween parties. I don't know if you've seen this or not. I think we brought it up once. I can't remember if you said you saw it or not. So this might just be for me. Sleepaway Camp.
I have not seen this.
You haven't seen Sleepaway Camp?
I have not even heard of it.
Oh, joy. Okay.
Excellent. So 2 horror movies that you should be sure to check out: Silver Bullet and Sleepaway Camp.
Yep.
We're going to watch those for episode 31. So we're excited to dive into that. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We got a website, www.neoncrewpodcast.com. And we are on various social medias, so be sure to hit us up. Send me a message. Tell me I'm a loser. And
same here.
Yep. We love it. Love being beaten
Masochists. Up. Let's go.
We love being cyberbullied is really what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And Mac, do you have any parting words?
Yeah, let's go. WWTHD.
Bye, everyone.